Chapter 1. Whereas many and great things have been delivered to us by the law and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Israel ought to be commended for learning and wisdom, and whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Jesus, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn, and are addicted to these things, might profit much more in living according to the law. Therefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew, and translated into another tongue, have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself, and the prophets, and the rest of the books, have no small difference, when they are spoken in their own language. For in the 38th year coming into Egypt, when Euergetes was king, and continuing there some time, I found a book of no small learning. Therefore I thought it most necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it, using great watchfulness and skill in that space to bring the book to an end, and set it forth for them also, which in a strange country are willing to learn, being prepared before in manners to live after the law. Chapter 2. All wisdom comes from the Lord, and is with him forever, who can number the sand of the sea, and the drops of rain, and the days of eternity, who can find out the height of heaven, and the breadth of the earth, and the deep, and wisdom. Wisdom has been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of God Most High is the fountain of wisdom, and her ways are everlasting commandments. To whom has the root of wisdom been revealed? Or who has known her wise counsels? To whom has the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest? And who has understood her great experience? There is one wise and greatly to be feared, the Lord sitting upon his throne. He created her, and saw her, and numbered her, and poured her out upon all his works. She is with all flesh according to his gift, and he has given her to them that love him. The fear of the Lord is honor, and glory, and gladness, and a crown of rejoicing. The fear of the Lord makes a merry heart, and gives joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso fears the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb. She has built an everlasting foundation with men, and she shall continue with their seed. To fear the Lord is fullness of wisdom, and fills men with her fruits. She fills all their house with things desirable, and the garners with her increase. The fear of the Lord is a crown of wisdom, making peace and perfect health to flourish, both which are the gifts of God, and it enlarges their rejoicing that love him. Wisdom rains down skill and knowledge of understanding standing, and exalts them to honor that hold her fast. The root of wisdom is to fear the Lord, and the branches thereof are long life. The fear of the Lord drives away sins, and where it is present, it turns away wrath. A furious man can't be justified, for the sway of his fury shall be his destruction. A patient man will tarry for a time, and afterward joy shall spring up to him. He will hide his words for a time, and the lips of many shall declare his wisdom. The parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom, but godliness is an abomination to a sinner. If you desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her to you. For the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction, and faith and meekness are his delight. Distrust not the fear of the Lord when you are poor, and come not to him with a double heart. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what you speak. Exalt not yourself, lest you fall, and bring dishonor upon your soul, and so God discover your secrets, and cast you down in the midst of the congregation, because you came not in truth to the fear of the Lord, but your heart is full of deceit. Chapter 3. My son, if you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. Set your heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave to him, and depart not away, that you may be increased at your last end. Whatsoever is brought upon you take cheerfully, and be patient when you are changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help you. Order your way aright, and trust in him. You none that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest you none fall. You none that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. You none that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old, and see, did ever any trust in the Lord, and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear, and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise, that called upon him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, longsuffering, and very pitiful, and forgives sins, and saves in time of affliction. Woe be to fearful hearts, and faint hands, and the sinner that goes two ways. Woe to him that is faint-hearted, for he believes not, therefore shall he not be defended. Woe to you that have lost patience, and what will you none do when the Lord shall visit you? They that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. They that fear the Lord will seek that which is well, pleasing to him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. They that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts, and humble their souls in his sight, saying, We will fall into the hands of the Lord, and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. Chapter 4. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that you none may be safe. For the Lord has given the father honor over the children, and has confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. Whoso honors his father makes an atonement for his sins, and he that honors his mother is as one that lays up treasure. Whoso honors his father shall have joy of his own children, and when he makes his prayer, he shall be heard. He that honors his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient to the Lord shall be a comfort to his mother. He that fears the Lord will honor his father, and will do service to his parents as to his masters. Honor your father and mother both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon you from them. For the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother roots out foundations. Glory not in the dishonor of your father, for your father's dishonor is no glory to you. For the glory of a man is from the honor of his father, and a mother in dishonor is a reproach to the children. My son, help your father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he lives. And if his understanding fail, have patience with him, and despise him not when you are in your full strength. For the relieving of your father shall not be forgotten, and instead of sins it shall be added to build you up. In the day of your affliction it shall be remembered. Your sins also shall melt away, as the ice in the fair warm weather. He that forsakes his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angers his mother is cursed of God. My son, go on with your business in meekness, so shall you be beloved of him that is approved. The greater you are, the more humble yourself, and you shall find favor before the Lord. Many are in high place, and of renown, but mysteries are revealed to the meek. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for you, neither search the things that are above your strength. But what is commanded you, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for you to see with your eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed to you than men understand. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Without eyes you shall lack light. Profess not the knowledge therefore that you have not. A stubborn heart shall fare evil at the last, and he that loves danger shall perish therein. An obstinate heart shall be laden with sorrows, and the wicked man shall heap sin upon sin. In the punishment of the proud there is no remedy, for the plan of wickedness has taken root in him. The heart of the prudent will understand a parable, and an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. Water will quench a flaming fire, and alms makes an atonement for sins. And he that requites good turns is mindful of that which may come hereafter, and when he falls, he shall find a stay. Chapter 5. My son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. Make not an hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. Add not more trouble to an heart that is vexed, and defer not to give to him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away your face from a poor man. Turn not away your eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse you. For if he curse you in the bitterness of his soul, his prayers shall be heard of him that made him. Get yourself the love of the congregation, and bow your head to a great man. Let it not grieve you to bow down your ear to the poor, and give him a friendly answer with meekness. Deliver him that suffers wrong from the hand of the oppressor, and be not faint-hearted when you sit in judgment. Be as a father to the fatherless, and instead of an husband to their mother. So shall you be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love you more than your mother does. Wisdom exalts her children, and lays hold of them that seek her. He that loves her loves life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy. He that holds her fast shall inherit glory, and wherever she enters, the Lord will bless. They that serve her shall minister to the Holy One, and them that love her the Lord does love. Whoso gives ear to her shall judge the nations, and he that attends to her shall dwell securely. If a man commit himself to her, he shall inherit her, and his generation shall hold her in possession. For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways, and bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with her discipline, until she may trust his soul, and try him by her laws. Then will she return the straight way to him, and comfort him, and show him her secrets. But if he go wrong, she will forsake him, and give him over to his own ruin. Observe the opportunity, and beware of evil, and be not ashamed when it concerns your soul. For there is a shame that brings sin, and there is a shame which is glory and grace. Accept no person against your soul, and let not the reverence of any man cause you to fall. And refrain not to speak when there is occasion to do good, and hide not your wisdom in her beauty. For by speech wisdom shall be known, and learning by the word of the tongue. In no wise speak against the truth, but be abashed of the error of your ignorance. Be not ashamed to confess your sins. Enforce not the course of the river. Make not yourself an underling to a foolish man. Neither accept the person of the mighty. Strive for the truth to death, and the Lord shall fight for you. Be not hasty in your tongue, and in your deeds slack and remiss. Be not as a lion in your house, nor frantic among your servants. Let not your hand be stretched out to receive, and shut when you should repay. Chapter 6. Set your heart upon your goods, and say not, I have enough for my life. Follow not your own mind and your strength, to walk in the ways of your heart, and say not, who shall control me for my works? For the Lord will surely revenge your pride. Say not, I have sinned, and what harm has happened to me? For the Lord is longsuffering, he will in no wise let you go. Concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin to sin, and say not his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and wrath come from him, and his indignation rests upon sinners. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in your security you shall be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. Set not your heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit you in the day of calamity. Winnow not with every wind, and go not into every way, for so does the sinner that has a double tongue. Be steadfast in your understanding, and let your word be the same. Be swift to hear, and let your life be sincere, and with patience give answer. If you have understanding, answer your neighbor. If not, lay your hand upon your mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of man is his fall. Be not called a whisperer, and lie not in wait with your tongue. For a foul shame is upon the thief, and an evil condemnation upon the double tongue. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Chapter 7. Instead of a friend become not an enemy, for thereby you shall inherit an ill name, shame, and reproach. Even so shall a sinner that has a double tongue. Extol not yourself in the counsel of your own heart, that your soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying alone. You shall eat up your leaves, and lose your fruit, and leave yourself as a dry tree. A wicked soul shall destroy him that has it, and shall make him to be laughed to scorn of his enemies. Sweet language will multiply friends, and a fair-speaking tongue will increase kind greetings. Be in peace with many. Nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000. If you would get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of your trouble. And there is a friend, who being turned to enmity and strife will discover your reproach. Again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of your affliction. But in your prosperity he will be as yourself, and will be bold over your servants. If you be brought low, he will be against you, and will hide himself from your face. Separate yourself from your enemies, and take heed of your friends. A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that has found such an one has found a treasure. Nothing does countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall find him. Whoso fears the Lord shall direct his friendship aright. For as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. My son, gather instruction from your youth up, so shall you find wisdom till your old age. Come to her as one that plows and sows, and wait for her good fruits. For you shall not toil much in laboring about her, but you shall eat of her fruits right soon. She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. She will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and he will cast her from him ere it be long. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest to many. Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel, and put your feet into her fetters, and your neck into her chain. Bow down your shoulder, and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds. Come to her with your whole heart, and keep her ways with all your power. Search and seek, and she shall be made known to you. And when you have got hold of her, let her not go. For at the last you shall find her rest, and that shall be turned to your joy. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for you, and her chains a robe of glory. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. You shall put her on as a robe of honor, and shall put her about you as a crown of joy. My son, if you will, you shall be taught. And if you will apply your mind, you shall be prudent. If you love to hear, you shall receive understanding. And if you bow your ear, you shall be wise. Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cleave to him that is wise. Be willing to hear every godly discourse, and let not the parables of understanding escape you. And if you see a man of understanding, get you betimes to him, and let your foot wear the steps of his door. Let your mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish your heart, and give you wisdom at your own desire. Chapter 8. Do no evil, so shall no harm come to you. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from you. My son, sow not upon the furrows of unrighteousness, and you shall not reap them sevenfold. Seek not of the Lord preeminence, neither of the king the seat of honor. Justify not yourself before the Lord, and boast not of your wisdom before the king. Seek not to be judge, being not able to take away iniquity, lest at any time you fear the person of the mighty, and stumbling block in the way of your uprightness. Offend not against the multitude of a city, and then you shall not cast yourself down among the people. Bind not one sin upon another, for in one you shall not be unpunished. Say not, God will look upon the multitude of my oblations, And when I offer to the Most High God, he will accept it. Be not faint-hearted when you make your prayer, and neglect not to give alms. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul. For there is one which humbles and exalts. Devise not a lie against your brother, neither do the like to your friend. Use not to make any manner of lie, for the custom thereof is not good. Use not many words in a multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when you pray. Hate not laborious work, neither husbandry, which the Most High has ordained. Number not yourself among the multitude of sinners, but remember that wrath will not wait long. Humble yourself greatly, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms. Change not a friend for any good by no means, neither a faithful brother for the gold of Ophir. Forgo not a wise and good woman, for her grace is above gold. Whereas your servant works truly, and treat him not evil, nor the hireling that gives himself wholly for you. Let your soul love a good servant, and defraud him not of liberty. Haste you cattle, have an eye to them, and if they be for your profit, keep them with you. Haste you children, instruct them, and bow down their neck from their youth. Haste you daughters, have a care of their body, and show not yourself cheerful toward them. Marry your daughter, and so shall you have performed a weighty matter, but give her to a man of understanding. Haste you a wife after your mind, forsake her not, but give not yourself over to a light woman. Honor your father with your whole heart, and forget not the sorrows of your mother. Remember that you were begotten of them, and how can you recompense them the things that they have done for you? Fear the Lord with all your soul, and reverence his priests. Love him that made you with all your strength, and forsake not his ministers. Fear the Lord, and honor the priest, and give him his portion, as it is commanded you, the first fruits, and the trespass offering, and the gift of the shoulders, and the sacrifice of sanctification, and the first fruits of the holy things. And stretch your hand to the poor, that your blessing may be perfected. A gift has grace in the sight of every man living, and for the dead detain it not. Fail not to be with them that weep, and mourn with them that mourn. Be not slow to visit the sick, for that shall make you to be beloved. Whatsoever you take in hand, remember the end, and you shall never do amiss. Chapter 9. Strive not with a mighty man lest you fall into his hands. Be not at variance with a rich man, lest he overweigh you. For gold has destroyed many, and perverted the hearts of kings. Strive not with a man that is full of tongue, and heap not wood upon his fire. Jest not with a rude man, lest your ancestors be disgraced. Reproach not a man that turns from sin, but remember that we are all worthy of punishment. Dishonor not a man in his old age, for even some of us wax old. Rejoice not over your greatest enemy being dead, but remember that we die all. Despise not the discourse of the wise, but acquaint yourself with their proverbs, for of them you shall learn instruction, and how to serve great men with ease. Miss not the discourse of the elders, for they also learned of their fathers, and of them you shall learn understanding, and to give answer as need requires. Kindle not the coals of a sinner, lest you be burnt with the flame of his fire. Rise not up in anger at the presence of an injurious person, lest he lie in wait to entrap you in your words. Lend not to him that is mightier than yourself, for if you lend him, count it but lost. Be not surety above your power, for if you be surety, take care to pay it. Go not to law with a judge, for they will judge for him according to his honor. Travel not by the way with a bold fellow, lest he become grievous to you, for he will do according to his own will, and you shall perish with him through his folly. Strive not with an angry man, and go not with him into a solitary place, for blood is as nothing in his sight, and where there is no help, he will overthrow you. Consult not with a fool, for he can't keep counsel. Do no secret thing before a stranger, for you know not what he will bring forth. Open not your heart to every man, lest he requite you with a shrewd turn. Sirach. Chapter 1. Whereas many and great things have been delivered to us by the law and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Israel ought to be commended for learning and wisdom, and whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Jesus, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn, and are addicted to these things, might profit much more in living according to the law. Therefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew, and translated into another tongue, have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself, and the prophets, and the rest of the books, have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. For in the 38th year coming into Egypt, when Euergetes was king, and continuing there some time, I found a book of no small learning. Therefore I thought it most necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it, using great watchfulness and skill in that space to bring the book to an end. and set it forth for them also, which in a strange country are willing to learn, being prepared before in manners to live after the law. Chapter 2. All wisdom comes from the Lord, and is with him forever. Who can number the sand of the sea, and the drops of rain, and the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of heaven, and the breadth of the earth, and the deep, and wisdom? Wisdom has been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of God Most High is the fountain of wisdom, and her ways are everlasting commandments. To whom has the root of wisdom been revealed? Or who has known her wise counsels? To whom has the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest? And who has understood her great experience? There is one wise and greatly to be feared, the Lord sitting upon his throne. He created her, and saw her, and numbered her, and poured her out upon all his works. She is with all flesh according to his gift, and he has given her to them that love him. The fear of the Lord is honor, and glory, and gladness, and a crown of rejoicing. The fear of the Lord makes a merry heart, and gives joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso fears the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb. She has built an everlasting foundation with men, and she shall continue with their seed. To fear the Lord is fullness of wisdom, and fills men with her fruits. She fills all their house with things desirable, and the garners with her increase. The fear of the Lord is a crown of wisdom, making peace and perfect health to flourish, both which are the gifts of God, and it enlarges their rejoicing that love him. Wisdom rains down skill and knowledge of understanding standing, and exalts them to honor that hold her fast. The root of wisdom is to fear the Lord, and the branches thereof are long life. The fear of the Lord drives away sins, and where it is present, it turns away wrath. A furious man can't be justified, for the sway of his fury shall be his destruction. A patient man will tarry for a time, and afterward joy shall spring up to him. He will hide his words for a time, and the lips of many shall declare his wisdom. The parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom, but godliness is an abomination to a sinner. If you desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her to you. For the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction, and faith and meekness are his delight. Distrust not the fear of the Lord when you are poor, and come not to him with a double heart. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what you speak. Exalt not yourself, lest you fall, and bring dishonor upon your soul, and so God discover your secrets, and cast you down in the midst of the congregation, because you came not in truth to the fear of the Lord, but your heart is full of deceit. Chapter 3. My son, if you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. Set your heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave to him, and depart not away, that you may be increased at your last end. Whatsoever is brought upon you take cheerfully, and be patient when you are changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help you. Order your way aright, and trust in him. You none that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest you none fall. You none that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. You none that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old, and see, did ever any trust in the Lord, and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear, and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise, that called upon him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, longsuffering, and very pitiful, and forgives sins, and saves in time of affliction. Woe be to fearful hearts, and faint hands, and the sinner that goes two ways. Woe to him that is faint-hearted, for he believes not, therefore shall he not be defended. Woe to you that have lost patience, and what will you none do when the Lord shall visit you? They that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. They that fear the Lord will seek that which is well, pleasing to him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. They that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts, and humble their souls in his sight, saying, We will fall into the hands of the Lord, and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. Chapter 4. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that you none may be safe. For the Lord has given the father honor over the children, and has confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. Whoso honors his father makes an atonement for his sins, and he that honors his mother is as one that lays up treasure. Whoso honors his father shall have joy of his own children, and when he makes his prayer, he shall be heard. He that honors his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient to the Lord shall be a comfort to his mother. He that fears the Lord will honor his father, and will do service to his parents as to his masters. Honor your father and mother both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon you from them. For the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother roots out foundations. Glory not in the dishonor of your father, for your father's dishonor is no glory to you. For the glory of a man is from the honor of his father, and a mother in dishonor is a reproach to the children. My son, help your father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he lives. And if his understanding fail, have patience with him, and despise him not when you are in your full strength. For the relieving of your father shall not be forgotten, and instead of sins it shall be added to build you up. In the day of your affliction it shall be remembered. Your sins also shall melt away, as the ice in the fair warm weather. He that forsakes his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angers his mother is cursed of God. My son, go on with your business in meekness, so shall you be beloved of him that is approved. The greater you are, the more humble yourself, and you shall find favor before the Lord. Many are in high place and of renown, but mysteries are revealed to the meek. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for you, neither search the things that are above your strength. But what is commanded you, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for you to see with your eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed to you than men understand. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Without eyes you shall lack light. Profess not the knowledge therefore that you have not. A stubborn heart shall fare evil at the last, and he that loves danger shall perish therein. An obstinate heart shall be laden with sorrows, and the wicked man shall heap sin upon sin. In the punishment of the proud there is no remedy, for the plant of wickedness has taken root in him. The heart of the prudent will understand a parable, and an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. Water will quench a flaming fire, and alms makes an atonement for sins. And he that requites good turns is mindful of that which may come hereafter. And when he falls, he shall find a stay. Chapter 5. My son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. Make not an hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. Add not more trouble to an heart that is vexed, and defer not to give to him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away your face from a poor man. Turn not away your eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse you. For if he curse you in the bitterness of his soul, his prayers shall be heard of him that made him. Get yourself the love of the congregation, and bow your head to a great man. Let it not grieve you to bow down your ear to the poor, and give him a friendly answer with meekness. Deliver him that suffers wrong from the hand of the oppressor, and be not faint-hearted when you sit in judgment. Be as a father to the fatherless, and instead of an husband to their mother. So shall you be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love you more than your mother does. Wisdom exalts her children, and lays hold of them that seek her. He that loves her loves life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy. He that holds her fast shall inherit glory, and wherever she enters, the Lord will bless. They that serve her shall minister to the Holy One, and them that love her the Lord does love. Whoso gives ear to her shall judge the nations, and he that attends to her shall dwell securely. If a man commit himself to her, he shall inherit her, and his generation shall hold her in possession. For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways, and bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with her discipline, until she may trust his soul, and try him by her laws. Then will she return the straight way to him, and comfort him, and show him her secrets. But if he go wrong, she will forsake him, and give him over to his own ruin. Observe the opportunity, and beware of evil, and be not ashamed when it concerns your soul. For there is a shame that brings sin, and there is a shame which is glory and grace. Accept no person against your soul, and let not the reverence of any man cause you to fall. And refrain not to speak when there is occasion to do good, and hide not your wisdom in her beauty. For by speech wisdom shall be known, and learning by the word of the tongue. In no wise speak against the truth, but be abashed of the error of your ignorance. Be not ashamed to confess your sins, and force not the course of the river. Make not yourself an underling to a foolish man, neither accept the person of the mighty. Strive for the truth to death, and the Lord shall fight for you. Be not hasty in your tongue, and in your deeds slack and remiss. Be not as a lion in your house, nor frantic among your servants. Let not your hand be stretched out to receive, and shut when you should repay. Chapter 6. Set your heart upon your goods, and say not, I have enough for my life. Follow not your own mind and your strength, to walk in the ways of your heart, and say not, who shall control me from my works? For the Lord will surely revenge your pride. Say not, I have sinned, and what harm has happened to me? For the Lord is longsuffering, he will in no wise let you go. Concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin to sin, and say not his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and wrath come from him, and his indignation rests upon sinners. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in your security you shall be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. Set not your heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit you in the day of calamity. Winnow not with every wind, and go not into every way, for so does the sinner that has a double tongue. Be steadfast in your understanding, and let your word be the same. Be swift to hear, and let your life be sincere, and with patience give answer. If you have understanding, answer your neighbor. If not, lay your hand upon your mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of man is his fall. Be not called a whisperer, and lie not in wait with your tongue. For a foul shame is upon the thief, and an evil condemnation upon the double tongue. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Chapter 7. Instead of a friend become not an enemy, for thereby you shall inherit an ill name, shame, and reproach. Even so shall a sinner that has a double tongue. Extol not yourself in the counsel of your own heart, that your soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying alone. You shall eat up your leaves, and lose your fruit, and leave yourself as a dry tree. A wicked soul shall destroy him that has it, and shall make him to be laughed to scorn of his enemies. Sweet language will multiply friends, and a fair-speaking tongue will increase kind greetings. Be in peace with many. Nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000. If you would get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of your trouble. And there is a friend, who being turned to enmity and strife will discover your reproach. Again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of your affliction. But in your prosperity he will be as yourself, and will be bold over your servants. If you be brought low, he will be against you, and will hide himself from your face. Separate yourself from your enemies, and take heed of your friends. A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that has found such in one has found a treasure. Nothing does countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall find him. Whoso fears the Lord shall direct his friendship aright. For as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. My son, gather instruction from your youth up, so shall you find wisdom till your old age. Come to her as one that plows and sows, and wait for her good fruits. For you shall not toil much in laboring about her, but you shall eat of her fruits right soon. She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. She will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and he will cast her from him ere it be long. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest to many. Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel, and put your feet into her fetters, and your neck into her chain. Bow down your shoulder, and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds. Come to her with your whole heart, and keep her ways with all your power. Search and seek, and she shall be made known to you. And when you have got hold of her, let her not go. For at the last you shall find her rest, and that shall be turned to your joy. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for you, and her chains a robe of glory. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. You shall put her on as a robe of honor, and shall put her about you as a crown of joy. My son, if you will, you shall be taught. And if you will apply your mind, you shall be prudent. If you love to hear, you shall receive understanding. And if you bow your ear, you shall be wise. Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cleave to him that is wise. Be willing to hear every godly discourse, and let not the parables of understanding escape you. And if you see a man of understanding, get you betimes to him, and let your foot wear the steps of his door. Let your mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish your heart, and give you wisdom at your own desire. Chapter 8. Do no evil, so shall no harm come to you. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from you. My son, sow not upon the furrows of unrighteousness, and you shall not reap them sevenfold. Seek not of the Lord preeminence, neither of the king the seat of honor. Justify not yourself before the Lord, and boast not of your wisdom before the king. Seek not to be judged, being not able to take away iniquity, lest at any time you fear the person of the mighty, and stumbling block in the way of your uprightness. Offend not against the multitude of a city, and then you shall not cast yourself down among the people. Bind not one sin upon another, for in one you shall not be unpunished. Say not, God will look upon the multitude of my oblations, and when I offer to the Most High God, he will accept it. Be not faint-hearted when you make your prayer, and neglect not to give alms. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul, for there is one which humbles and exalts. Devise not a lie against your brother, neither do the like to your friend. Use not to make any manner of lie, for the custom thereof is not good. Use not many words in a multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when you pray. Hate not laborious work, neither husbandry, which the Most High has ordained. Number not yourself among the multitude of sinners, but remember that wrath will not wait long. Humble yourself greatly, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms. Change not a friend for any good by no means, neither a faithful brother for the gold of Ophir. Forgo not a wise and good woman, for her grace is above gold. Whereas your servant works truly, entreat him not evil, nor the hireling that gives himself wholly for you. Let your soul love a good servant, and defraud him not of liberty. Haste you cattle, have an eye to them, and if they be for your profit, keep them with you. Haste you children, instruct them, and bow down their neck from their youth. Haste you daughters, have a care of their body, and show not yourself cheerful toward them. Marry your daughter, and so shall you have performed a weighty matter. But give her to a man of understanding. Haste you a wife after your mind, forsake her not. But give not yourself over to a light woman. Honor your father with your whole heart, and forget not the sorrows of your mother. Remember that you were begotten of them. And how can you recompense them the things that they have done for you? Fear the Lord with all your soul, and reverence his priests. Love him that made you with all your strength, and forsake not his ministers. Fear the Lord, and honor the priest, and give him his portion, as it is commanded you, the first fruits, and the trespass offering, and the gift of the shoulders, and the sacrifice of sanctification, and the first fruits of the holy things. And stretch your hand to the poor, that your blessing may be perfected. A gift has grace in the sight of every man living. And for the dead detain it not. Fail not to be with them that weep, and mourn with them that mourn. Be not slow to visit the sick, for that shall make you to be beloved. Whatsoever you take in hand, remember the end, and you shall never do amiss. Chapter 9. Strive not with a mighty man, lest you fall into his hands. Be not at variance with a rich man, lest he overweigh you. For gold has destroyed many, and perverted the hearts of kings. Strive not with a man that is full of tongue, and heap not wood upon his fire. Jest not with a rude man, lest your ancestors be disgraced. Reproach not a man that turns from sin, but remember that we are all worthy of punishment. Dishonor not a man in his old age, for even some of us wax old. Rejoice not over your greatest enemy being dead, but remember that we die all. Despise not the discourse of the wise, but acquaint yourself with their proverbs, for of them you shall learn instruction, and how to serve great men with ease. Miss not the discourse of the elders, for they also learned of their fathers, and of them you shall learn understanding, and to give answer as need requires. Kindle not the coals of a sinner, lest you be burnt with the flame of his fire. Rise not up in anger at the presence of an injurious person, lest he lie in wait to entrap you in your words. Lend not to him that is mightier than yourself, for if you lend him, count it but lost. Be not surety above your power, for if you be surety, take care to pay it. Go not to law with a judge, for they will judge for him according to his honor. Travel not by the way with a bold fellow, lest he become grievous to you, for he will do according to his own will, and you shall perish with him through his folly. Strive not with an angry man, and go not with him into a solitary place, for blood is as nothing in his sight, and where there is no help, he will overthrow you. Consult not with a fool, for he can't keep counsel. Do no secret thing before a stranger, for you know not what he will bring forth. Open not your heart to every man, lest he requite you with a shrewd turn. Chapter 10. Be not jealous over the wife of your bosom, and teach her not an evil lesson against yourself. Give not your soul to a woman to set her foot upon your substance. Meet not with an harlot, lest you fall into her snares. Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest you be taken with her attempts. Gaze not on a maid, that you fall not by those things that are precious in her. Give not your soul to harlots, that you lose not your inheritance. Look not round about you in the streets of the city, neither wander you in the solitary place thereof. Turn away your eye from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another's beauty. For many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman. For herewith love is kindled as a fire. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in your arms, and spend not your money with her at the wine, lest your heart incline to her, and so through your desire you fall into destruction. Forsake not an old friend, for the new is not comparable to him. A new friend is as new wine. When it is old, you shall drink it with pleasure. Envy not the glory of a sinner, for you know not what shall be his end. Delight not in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure in, but remember they shall not go unpunished to their grave. Keep you far from the man that has power to kill, so shall you not doubt the fear of death. And if you come to him, make no fault, lest he take away your life presently. Remember that you go in the midst of snares, and that you walk upon the battlements of the city. As near as you can, guess at your neighbor, and consult with the wise. Let your talk be with the wise, and all your communication in the law of the Most High. And let just men eat and drink with you, and let your glorying be in the fear of the Lord. For the hand of the artificer the work shall be commended, and the wise ruler of the people for his speech. A man of an ill tongue is dangerous in his city, and he that is rash in his talk shall be hated. Chapter 11. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroys his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. In the hand of God is the prosperity of man, and upon the person of the scribe shall he lay his honor. Bear not hatred to your neighbor for every wrong, and do nothing at all by injurious practices. Pride is hateful before God and man, and by both does one commit iniquity. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Why is earth in ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, for such an one sets his own soul to sale. Because while he lives he casts away his bowels. The physician cuts off a long disease, and he that is today a king tomorrow shall die. For when a man is dead, he shall inherit creeping things, beasts, and worms. The beginning of pride is when one departs from God, and his heart is turned away from his Maker. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that has it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities, and overthrew them utterly. The Lord has cast down the thrones of proud princes, and set up the meek in their stead. The Lord has plucked up the roots of the proud nations, and planted the lowly in their place. The Lord overthrew countries of the heathen, and destroyed them to the foundations of the earth. He took some of them away, and destroyed them, and has made their memorial to cease from the earth. Pride was not made for men, nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman. They that fear the Lord are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the law are a dishonorable seed. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. Among brethren he that is chief is honorably. So are they that fear the Lord in his eyes. The fear of the Lord goes before the obtaining of authority, but roughness and pride is the losing thereof. Whether he be rich, noble, or poor, their glory is the fear of the Lord. It is not meet to despise the poor man that has understanding, neither is it convenient to magnify a sinful man. Great men, and judges, and potentates shall be honored, yet is there none of them greater than he that fears the Lord. To the servant that is wise shall they that are free do service, and he that has knowledge will not grudge when he is reformed. Be not overwise in doing your business, and boast not yourself in the time of your distress. Better is he that labors, and abounds in all things, than he that boasts himself, and lacks bread. My son, glorify your soul in meekness, and give it honor according to the dignity thereof. Who will justify him that sins against his own soul? And who will honor him that dishonors his own life? The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? Chapter 12. Wisdom lifts up the head of him that is of low degree, and makes him to sit among great men. Commend not a man for his beauty, neither abhor a man for his outward appearance. The bee is little among such as fly, but her fruit is the chief of sweet things. Boast not of your clothing and raiment, and exalt not yourself in the day of honor. For the works of the Lord are wonderful, and his works among men are hidden. Many kings have sat down upon the ground, and one that was never thought of has worn the crown. Many mighty men have been greatly disgraced, and the honorable delivered into other men's hands. Blame not before you have examined the truth. Understand first, and then rebuke. Answer not before you have heard the cause. Neither interrupt men in the midst of their talk. Strive not in a matter that concerns you not, and sit not in judgment with sinners. My son, meddle not with many matters, for if you meddle much, you shall not be innocent. And if you follow after, you shall not obtain, neither shall you escape by fleeing. There is one that labors, and takes pains, and makes haste, and is so much the more behind. Again, there is another that is slow, and has need of help, lacking ability, and full of poverty. Yet the eye of the Lord looked upon him for good, and set him up from his low estate, and lifted up his head from misery. So that many that saw from him his peace over all the prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches, come of the Lord. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the law are of the Lord. Love and the way of good works are from him. Error and darkness had their beginning together with sinners, and evil shall wax old with them that glory therein. The gift of the Lord remains with the ungodly, and his favor brings prosperity forever. There is that waxes rich by his wariness and pinching, and this is the portion of his reward. Whereas he says, I have found rest, and now will eat continually of my goods, and yet he knows not what time shall come upon him, and that he must leave those things to others, and die. Be steadfast in your covenant, and be conversant therein, and wax old in your work. Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord, and abide in your labor. For it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on the sudden to make a poor man rich. The blessing of the Lord is in the reward of the godly, and suddenly he makes his blessing flourish. Say not, what profit is there of my service? And what good things shall I have hereafter? Again, say not, I have enough, and possess many things, and what evil shall I have hereafter? In the day of prosperity there is a forgetfulness of affliction, and in the day of affliction there is no more remembrance of prosperity. For it is an easy thing to the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways. The affliction of an hour makes a man forget pleasure, and in his end his deeds shall be discovered. Judge none blessed before his death, for a man shall be known in his children. Bring not every man into your house. For the deceitful man has many trains. Like as a partridge taken and kept in a cage, so is the heart of the proud. And like as a spy, watches he for your fall. For he lies in wait, and turns good into evil, and in things worthy praise will lay blame upon you. Of a spark of fire a heap of coals is kindled, and a sinful man lays wait for blood. Take heed of a mischievous man, for he works wickedness, lest he bring upon you a perpetual blot. Receive a stranger into your house, and he will disturb you, and turn you out of your own. Chapter 13. When you will do good, know to whom you Do it, so shall you be thanked for your benefits. Do good to the godly man, and you shall find a recompense, and if not from him, yet from the Most High. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that gives no alms. Give to the godly man, and help not a sinner. Do well to him that is lowly, but give not to the ungodly. Hold back your bread, and give it not to him, lest he overmaster you thereby. For else you shall receive twice as much evil for all the good you shall have done to him. For the Most High hates sinners, and will repay vengeance to the ungodly, and keeps them against the mighty day of their punishment. Give to the good, and help not the sinner. A friend can't be known in prosperity, and an enemy can't be hidden in adversity. In the prosperity of a man enemies will be grieved, but in his adversity even a friend will depart. Never trust your enemy, for like as iron rusts, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself, and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and you shall be to him as if you had wiped a looking-glass, and you shall know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by you, lest, when he has overthrown you, he stand up in your place. Neither let him sit at your right hand, lest he seek to take your seat, and you at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come near wild beasts? So one that goes to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with you, but if you begin to fall, he will not wait. An enemy speaks sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagines how to throw you into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon you, you shall find him there first, and though he pretend to help you, yet shall he undermine you. He will shake his head, and clap his hands, and whisper much, and change his countenance. Chapter 14. He that touches pitch shall be defiled therewith, and he that has fellowship with a proud man shall be like to him. Burden not yourself above your power while you live, and have no fellowship with one that is mightier and richer than yourself. For how agree the kettle and the earthen pot together? For if the one be struck against the other, it shall be broken. The rich man has done wrong, and yet he threatens withal. The poor is wronged, and he must entreat also. If you be for his profit, he will use you. But if you have nothing, he will forsake you. If you have anything, he will live with you. Yes, he will make you bear, and will not be sorry for it. If he have need of you, he will deceive you, and smile upon you, and put you in hope. He will speak you fair, and say, What want you? And he will shame you by his meats, until he have drawn you dry twice or thrice, and at the last he will laugh you to scorn afterward. When he sees you, he will forsake you, and shake his head at you. Beware that you be not deceived and brought down in your jollity. If you be invited of a mighty man, withdraw yourself, and so much the more will he invite you. Press you not upon him, lest you be put back. Stand not far off, lest you be forgotten. Affect not to be made equal to him in talk, and believe not his many words. For with much communication will he tempt you, and smiling upon you will get out your secrets. But cruelly he will lay up your words, and will not spare to do you hurt, and to put you in prison. Observe, and take good heed, for you walk in peril of your overthrowing. When you hear these things, awake in your sleep. Love the Lord all your life, and call upon him for your salvation. Every beast loves his like, and every man loves his neighbor. All flesh consorts according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. What fellowship has the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild asses the lions prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. As the proud hate humility, so does the rich abhor the poor. A rich man beginning to fall is held up of his friends, but a poor man being down is thrust away by his friends. When a rich man is fallen, he has many helpers. He speaks things not to be spoken, and yet men justify him. The poor man slipped, and yet they rebuked him too. He spoke wisely, and could have no place. When a rich man speaks, every man holds his tongue, and, look, what he says, they extol it to the clouds. But if the poor man speak, they say, What fellow is this? And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him. Riches are good to him that has no sin, and poverty is evil in the mouth of the ungodly. The heart of a man changes his countenance, whether it be for good or evil, and a merry heart makes a cheerful countenance. A cheerful countenance is a token of a heart that is in prosperity, and the finding out of parables is a wearisome labor of the mind. Chapter 15. Blessed is the man that has not slipped with his mouth, and is not pricked with the multitude of sins. Blessed is he whose conscience has not condemned him, and who has not fallen from his hope in the Lord. Riches are not comely for a niggard, and what should an envious man do with money? He that gathers by defrauding his own soul gathers for others, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. There is none worse than he that envies himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. And if he does good, he does it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. The envious man has a wicked eye. He turns away his face, and despises men. A covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked dries up. his soul. A wicked eye envies his bread, and he is a niggard at his table. My son, according to your ability do good to yourself, and give the Lord his due offering. Remember that death will not be long in coming, and that the covenant of the grave is not showed to you. Do good to your friend before you die, and according to your ability stretch out your hand and give to him. Defraud not yourself of the good day, and let not the part of a good desire overpass you. Shall you not leave your travails to another, and your labors to be divided by lot? Give and take, and sanctify your soul, for there is no seeking of dainties in the grave. All flesh waxes old as a garment, for the covenant from the beginning is, you shall die the death. As of the green leaves on a thick tree, some fall and some grow. So is the generation of flesh and blood. One comes to an end, and another is born. Every work rots and consumes away, and the worker thereof shall go without. Blessed is the man that does meditate good things in wisdom, and that reasons of holy things by his understanding. He that considers her ways in his heart shall also have understanding in her secrets. Go after her as one that traces, and lie in wait in her ways. He that pries in at her windows shall also listen at her doors. He that does lodge near her house shall also fasten a pin in her walls. He shall pitch his tent near to her, and shall lodge in a lodging where good things are. He shall set his children under her shelter, and shall lodge under her branches. By her he shall be covered from heat, and in her glory shall he dwell. Chapter 16. He that fears the Lord will do good, and he that has the knowledge of the law shall obtain her. And as a mother shall she meet him, and receive him as a wife married of a virgin. With the bread of understanding shall she feed him, and give him the water of wisdom to drink. He shall be stayed upon her, and shall not be moved, and shall rely upon her, and shall not be confounded. She shall exalt him above his neighbors, and in the midst of the congregation shall she open his mouth. He shall find joy and a crown of gladness, and she shall cause him to inherit an everlasting name. But foolish men shall not attain to her, and sinners shall not see her. For she is far from pride, and men that are liars can't remember her. Praise is not seemly in the mouth of a sinner, for it was not sent him of the Lord. For praise shall be uttered in wisdom, and the Lord will prosper it. Say not you, it is through the Lord that I fell away. For you ought not to do the things that he hates. Say not you, he has caused me to err. For he has no need of the sinful man. The Lord hates all abomination, and they that fear God love it not. He himself made man from the beginning, and left him in the hand of his counsel. If you will, to keep the commandments, and to perform acceptable faithfulness. He has set fire and water before you. Stretch forth your hand to whether you will. Before man is life and death, and whether him likes shall be given him. For the wisdom of the Lord is great, and he is mighty in power, and sees all things. And his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knows every work of man. He has commanded no man to do wickedly, neither has he given any man license to sin. Chapter 17. Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons. Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them. Trust not you in their life, neither respect their multitude. For one that is just is better than 1,000. And better it is to die without children, than to have them that are ungodly. For by one that is understanding shall the city be replenished. But the kindred of the wicked shall speedily become desolate. Many such things have I seen with my eyes, and my ear has heard greater things than these. In the congregation of the ungodly shall a fire be kindled, and in a rebellious nation wrath is set on fire. He was not pacified toward the old giants, who fell away in the strength of their foolishness. Neither spared he the place where Lot sojourned, but abhorred them for their pride. He pitied not the people of perdition, who were taken away in their sins, nor the 600,000 footmen, who were gathered together in the hardness of their hearts. And if there be one stiff-necked among the people, it is marvel if he escape unpunished. For mercy and wrath are with him. He is mighty to forgive, and to pour out displeasure. As his mercy is great, so is his correction also. He judges a man according to his works. The sinner shall not escape with his spoils, and the patience of the godly shall not be frustrate. Make way for every work of mercy, for every man shall find according to his works. The Lord hardened Pharaoh, that he should not know him, that his powerful works might be known to the world. His mercy is manifest to every creature, and he has separated his light from the darkness with an adamant. Say not you, I will hide myself from the Lord. Shall any remember me from above? I shall not be remembered among so many people. For what is my soul among such an infinite number of creatures? Behold, the heaven, and the heaven of heavens, the deep, and the earth, and all that therein is, shall be moved when he shall visit. The mountains also and foundations of the earth be shaken with trembling, when the Lord looks upon them. No heart can think upon these things worthily, and who is able to conceive his ways? It is a tempest which no man can see, for the most part of his works are hid. Who can declare the works of his justice, or who can endure them? For his covenant is afar off, and the trial of all things is in the end. He that lacks understanding will think upon vain things, and a foolish man erring imagines follies. My son, listen to me, and learn knowledge, and mark my words with your heart. I will show forth doctrine in weight, and declare his knowledge exactly. The works of the Lord are done in judgment from the beginning, and from the time he made them he disposed the parts thereof. He garnished his works forever, and in his hand are the chief of them to all generations. They neither labor, nor are weary, nor cease from their works. None of them hinders another, and they shall never disobey his word. After this the Lord looked upon the earth, and filled it with his blessings. With all manner of living things has he covered the face thereof, and they shall return into it again. Chapter 18. The Lord created man of the earth, and turned him into it again. He gave them few days, and a short time, and power also over the things therein. He endued them with strength by themselves, and made them according to his image, and put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls. They received the use of the 5 operations of the Lord, and in the 6th place he imparted them understanding, and in the 7th speech, an interpreter of the cogitations thereof, counsel, and a tongue, and eyes, ears, and a heart gave he them to understand. Withal he filled them with the knowledge of understanding, and showed them good and evil. He set his eye upon their hearts, that he might show them the greatness of his works. He gave them to glory in his marvelous acts forever, that they might declare his works with understanding. And the elect shall praise his holy name. Beside this he gave them knowledge, and the law of life for an heritage. He made an everlasting covenant with them, and showed them his judgments. Their eyes saw the majesty of his glory, and their ears heard his glorious voice. And he said to them, Beware of all unrighteousness. And he gave every man commandment concerning his neighbor. Their ways are ever before him, and shall not be hid from his eyes. Every man from his youth is given to evil. Neither could they make to themselves fleshy hearts for stony. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion, whom, being his firstborn, he nourishes with discipline, and giving him the light of his love does not forsake him. Therefore all their works are as the sun before him, and his eyes are continually upon their ways. None of their unrighteous deeds are hid from him, but all their sins are before the Lord. But the Lord, being gracious and knowing his workmanship, neither left nor forsook them, but spared them. The alms of a man is as a signet with him, and he will keep the good deeds of man as the apple of the eye, and give repentance to his sons and daughters. Afterwards he will rise up and reward them, and render their recompense upon their heads. But to them that repent, he granted them return, and comforted those that failed in patience. Return to the Lord, and forsake your sins. Make your prayer before his face, and offend less. Turn again to the Most High, and turn away from iniquity. For he will lead you out of darkness into the light of health, and hate you abomination vehemently. Who shall praise the Most High in the grave, instead of them which live and give thanks? Thanksgiving perishes from the dead, as from one that is not. The living and sound in heart shall praise the Lord. How great is the loving kindness of the Lord our God, and his compassion to such as turn to him in holiness. For all things can't be in men, because the Son of Man is not immortal. What is brighter than the sun? Yet the light thereof fails, and flesh and blood will imagine evil. He views the power of the height of heaven, and all men are but earth and ashes. Chapter 19. He that lives forever hath created all things in general. The Lord only is righteous, and there is none other but he, who governs the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. For he is the King of all, by his power dividing holy things among them from profane. To whom has he given power to declare his works? And who shall find out his noble acts? Who shall number the strength of his majesty? And who shall also tell out his mercies? As for the wondrous works of the Lord, there may nothing be taken from them, neither may anything be put to them, neither can the ground of them be found out. When a man has done, then he begins. And when he leaves off, then he shall be doubtful. What is man, and whereto serves he? What is his good, and what is his evil? The number of a man's days at the most are 100 years, as a drop of water to the sea, and a gravel stone in comparison of the sand. So are 1,000 years to the days of eternity. Therefore is God patient with them, and pours forth his mercy upon them. He saw and perceived their end to be evil. Therefore he multiplied his compassion. The mercy of man is toward his neighbor, but the mercy of the Lord is upon all flesh. He reproves, and nurtures, and teaches, and brings again, as a shepherd his flock. He has mercy on them that receive discipline, and that diligently seek after his judgments. My son, blemish not your good deeds, neither use uncomfortable words when you give anything. Shall not the dew assuage the heat? So is a word better than a gift. Behold, is not a word better than a gift? But both are with a gracious man. A fool will upbraid churlishly, and a gift of the envious consumes the eyes. Learn before you speak, and use physic or ever you be sick. Before judgment examine yourself, and in the day of visitation you shall find mercy. Humble yourself before you be sick, and in the time of sins show repentance. Let nothing hinder you to pay your vow in due time, and defer not until death to be justified. Before you pray, prepare yourself, and be not as one that tempts the Lord. Think upon the wrath that shall be at the end, and the time of vengeance, when he shall turn away his face. When you have enough, remember the time of hunger. And when you are rich, think upon poverty and need. From the morning until the evening the time is changed, and all things are soon done before the Lord. A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense. But a fool will not observe time. Every man of understanding knows wisdom, and will give praise to him that found her. They that were of understanding in sayings became also wise themselves, and poured forth exquisite parables. Go not after your lusts, but refrain yourself from your appetites. If you give your soul the desires that please her, she will make you a laughing stock to your enemies that malign you. Take not pleasure in much good cheer, neither be tied to the expense thereof. Be not made a beggar by banqueting upon borrowing, when you have nothing in your purse. For you shall lie in wait for your own life, and be talked on. Chapter 20. A laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich, and he that contemns small things shall fall by little and little. Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away, and he that cleaves to harlots will become impudent. Moths and worms shall have him to heritage, and a bold man shall be taken away. He that is hasty to give credit is light-minded, and he that sins shall offend against his own soul. Whoso takes pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned, but he that resists pleasures crowns his life. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife, and he that hates babbling shall have less evil. Rehearse not to another that which is told to you, and you shall fare never the worse. Whether it be to friend or foe, talk not of other men's lives. And if you can without offense, reveal them not. For he heard and observed you, and when time comes he will hate you. If you have heard a word, let it die with you, and be bold, it will not burst you. A fool travails with a word, as a woman in labor of a child. As an arrow that sticks in a man's thigh, so is a word within a fool's belly. Admonish a friend, it may be he has not done it, and if he have done it, that he do it no more. Admonish your friend, it may be he has not said it, and if he have, that he speak it not again. Admonish a friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. There is one that slips in his speech, but not from his heart. And who is he that has not offended with his tongue? Admonish your neighbor before you threaten him, and not being angry, give place to the law of the Most High. The fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtains his love. The knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. The fear of the Lord is all wisdom, and in all wisdom is the performance of the law, and the knowledge of his omnipotency. If a servant say to his master, I will not do as it pleases you, though afterward he do it, he angers him that nourishes him. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. There is a wickedness, and the same an abomination, and there is a fool lacking in wisdom. He that has small understanding, and fears God, is better than one that has much wisdom, and transgresses the law of the Most High. There is an exquisite subtlety, and the same is unjust. And there is one that turns aside to make judgment appear, and there is a wise man that justifies in judgment. There is a wicked man that hangs down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit, casting down his countenance, and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do you a mischief before you be aware. And if for lack of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he finds opportunity he will do evil. A man may be known by his look, and one that has understanding by his countenance when you meet him. A man's attire, and excessive laughter and gait show what he is. Chapter 21. There is a reproof that is not comely. Again, some man holds his tongue, and he is wise. It is much better to reprove than to be angry secretly, and he that confesses his fault shall be preserved from hurt. How good is it, when you are reproved, to show repentance? For so shall you escape wilful sin. As is the lust of an eunuch to deflower a virgin, so is he that executes judgment with violence. There is one that keeps silence, and is found wise, and another by much babbling becomes hateful. Some man holds his tongue, because he has not to answer, and some keeps silence, knowing his time. A wise man will hold his tongue till he see opportunity, but a babbler and a fool will regard no time. He that uses many words shall be abhorred, and he that takes to himself authority therein shall be hated. There is a sinner that has good success in evil things, and there is a gain that turns to loss. There is a gift that shall not profit you, and there is a gift whose recompense is double. There is an abasement because of glory, and there is that lifts up his head from a low estate. There is that buys much for a little, and repays it sevenfold. A wise man by his words makes him beloved, but the graces of fools shall be poured out. The gift of a fool shall do you no good when you have it, neither yet of the envious for his necessity. For he looks to receive many things for one. He gives little and upbraids much. He opens his mouth like a crier. Today he lends, and tomorrow will he ask it again. Such an one is to be hated of God and man. The fool says, I have no friends, I have no thank for all my good deeds, and they that eat my bread speak evil of me. How often, and of how many shall he be laughed to scorn? For he knows not aright what it is to have, and it is all one to him as if he had it not. To slip upon a pavement is better than to slip with the tongue. So the fall of the wicked shall come speedily. An unseasonable tale will always be in the mouth of the unwise. A wise sentence shall be rejected when it comes out of a fool's mouth, for he will not speak it in due season. There is that is hindered from sinning through lack, and when he takes rest, he shall not be troubled. There is that destroys his own soul through bashfulness, and by accepting of persons overthrows himself. There is that for bashfulness promises to his friend, and makes him his enemy for nothing. A lie is a foul blot in a man, yet it is continually in the mouth of the untaught. A thief is better than a man that is accustomed to lie, but they both shall have destruction to heritage. The disposition of a liar is dishonorable, and his shame is ever with him. A wise man shall promote himself to honor with his words, and he that has understanding will please great men. He that tills his land shall increase his heap, and he that pleases great men shall get pardon for iniquity. Presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise, and stop up his mouth that he can't reprove. Wisdom that is hid, and treasure that is hoarded up, what profit is in them both? Better is he that hides his folly than a man that hides his wisdom. Necessary patience in seeking the Lord is better than he that leads his life without a guide. Chapter 22. My son, have you sinned? Do so no more, but ask pardon for your former sins. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, for if you come too near it, it will bite you. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. All iniquity is as a two-edged sword, the wounds whereof can't be healed. To terrify and do wrong will waste riches. Thus the house of proud men shall be made desolate. A prayer out of a poor man's mouth reaches to the ears of God, and his judgment comes speedily. He that hates to be reproved is in the way of sinners, but he that fears the Lord will repent from his heart. An eloquent man is known far and near, but a man of understanding knows when he slips. He that builds his house with other men's money is like one that gathers himself stones for the tomb of his burial. The congregation of the wicked is like tow wrapped together, and the end of them is a flame of fire to destroy them. The way of sinners is made plain with stones, but at the end thereof is the pit of hell. He that keeps the law of the Lord gets the understanding thereof, and the perfection of the fear of the Lord is wisdom. He that is not wise will not be taught, but there is a wisdom which multiplies bitterness. The knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood, and his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. The inner parts of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he lives. If a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it, and add to it. But as soon as one of no understanding hears it, it displeases him, and he casts it behind his back. The talking of a fool is like a burden in the way, but grace shall be found in the lips of the wise. They inquire at the mouth of the wise man in the congregation, and they shall ponder his words in their heart. As is a house that is destroyed, so is wisdom to a fool. And the knowledge of the unwise is as talk without sense. Doctrine to fools is as fetters on the feet, and like manacles on the right hand. A fool lifts up his voice with laughter, but a wise man does scarce smile a little. Learning is to a wise man as an ornament of gold, and like a bracelet upon his right arm. A foolish man's foot is soon in his neighbor's house, but a man of experience is ashamed of him. A fool will peep in at the door into the house, but he that is well nurtured will stand without. It is the rudeness of a man to listen at the door, but a wise man will be grieved with the disgrace. The lips of talkers will be telling such things as pertain not to them, but the words of such as have understanding are weighed in the balance. The heart of fools is in their mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their heart. When the ungodly curses Satan, he curses his own soul. A whisperer defiles his own soul, and is hated wherever he dwells. Chapter 23. A slothful man is compared to a filthy stone, and every one will hiss him out to his disgrace. A slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill. Every man that takes it up will shake his hand. An evil-nurtured man is the dishonor of his father that became the father of him, and a foolish daughter is born to his loss. A wise daughter shall bring an inheritance to her husband, but she that lives dishonestly is her father's heaviness. She that is bold dishonors both her father and her husband, but they both shall despise her. A tale out of season is as music and mourning, but stripes and correction of wisdom are never out of time. Whoso teaches a fool is as one that glues a potsherd together, and as he that wakes one from a sound sleep. He that tells a tale to a fool speaks to one in a slumber. When he has told his tale, he will say, "What is the matter?" If children live honestly, and have wherewithal, they shall cover the baseness of their parents. But children, being haughty, through disdain and lack of nurture do stain the nobility of their kindred. Weep for the dead, for he has lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he lacks understanding. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest. But the life of the fool is worse than death. 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and an ungodly man all the days of his life. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that has no understanding. Beware of him, lest you have trouble, and you shall never be defiled with his fooleries. Depart from him, and you shall find rest, and never be disquieted. With madness, what is heavier than lead? And what is the name thereof but a fool? Sand and salt and a mass of iron is easier to bear than a man without understanding. As timber girded and bound together in a building can't be loosed with shaking, so the heart that is established by advised counsel shall fear at no time. A heart settled upon a thought of understanding is as a fair plastering on the wall of a gallery. Hail set on in high place will never stand against the wind. So a fearful heart in the imagination of a fool can't stand against any fear. He that pricks the eye will make tears to fall, and he that pricks the heart makes it to show her knowledge. Whoso casts a stone at the birds frays them away, and he that upbraids his friend breaks friendship. Though you drew a sword at your friend, yet despair not, for there may be a returning to favor. If you have opened your mouth against your friend, fear not, for there may be a reconciliation, except for upbraiding, or pride, or disclosing of secrets, or a treacherous wound. For these things every friend will depart. Be faithful to your neighbor in his poverty, that you may rejoice in his prosperity. Abide steadfast to him in the time of his trouble, that you may be heir with him in his heritage. For a mean estate is not always to be contemned, nor the rich that is foolish to be had in admiration. As the vapor and smoke of a furnace goes before the fire, so reviling before blood. I will not be ashamed to defend a friend, neither will I hide myself from him. And if any evil happen to me by him, every one that hears it will beware of him, who shall set a watch before my mouth, and a seal of wisdom upon my lips, that I fall not suddenly by them, and that my tongue destroy me not. Chapter 24. O Lord, Father and Governor of all my whole life, leave me not to their counsels, and let me not fall by them. Who will set scourges over my thoughts, and the discipline of wisdom over my heart, that they spare me not for my ignorances, and it pass not by my sins, lest my ignorances increase, and my sins abound to my destruction, and I fall before my adversaries, and my enemy rejoice over me, whose hope is far from your mercy. O Lord, Father and God of my life, give me not a proud look, but turn away from your servants always a haughty mind. Turn away from me vain hopes and concupiscence, and you shall hold him up that is desirous always to serve you. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me your servant into an impudent mind. Hear, O you nun children, the discipline of the mouth. He that keeps it shall never be taken in his lips. The sinner shall be left in his foolishness. Both the evil speaker and the proud shall fall thereby. Accustom not your mouth to swearing, neither use yourself to the naming of the Holy One. For as a servant that is continually beaten shall not be without a blue mark, so he that swears and names God continually shall not be faultless. A man that uses much swearing shall be filled with iniquity, and the plague shall never depart from his house. If he shall offend, his sin shall be upon him. And if he acknowledge not his sin, he makes a double offense. And if he swear in vain, he shall not be innocent, but his house shall be full of calamities. There is a word that is clothed about with death. God grant that it be not found in the heritage of Jacob. For all such things shall be far from the godly, and they shall not wallow in their sins. Use not your mouth to intemperate swearing, for therein is the word of sin. Remember your father and your mother when you sit among great men. Be not forgetful before them, and so you by your custom become a fool, and wish that you had not been born, and curse the day of your nativity. The man that is accustomed to opprobrious words will never be reformed all the days of his life. 2 sorts of men multiply sin, and the third will bring wrath. A hot mind is as a burning fire. It will never be quenched till it be consumed. A fornicator in the body of his flesh will never cease till he has kindled a fire. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger. He will not leave off till he die. A man that breaks wedlock, saying thus in his heart, who sees me? I am compassed about with darkness. The walls cover me, and no body sees me. What need I to fear? The Most High will not remember my sins. Such a man only fears the eyes of men, and knows not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. He knew all things ere ever they were created. So also after they were perfected he looked upon them all. This man shall be punished in the streets of the city, and where he suspects not he shall be taken. Thus shall it go also with the wife that leaves her husband, and brings in an heir by another. For first, she has disobeyed the law of the Most High, and secondly, she has trespassed against her own husband, and thirdly, she has played the whore in adultery, and brought children by another man. She shall be brought out into the congregation, and inquisition shall be made of her children. Her children shall not take root, and her branches shall bring forth no fruit. She shall leave her memory to be cursed, and her reproach shall not be blotted out. And they that remain shall know that there is nothing better than the fear of the Lord, and that there is nothing sweeter than to take heed to the commandments of the Lord. It is great glory to follow the Lord, and to be received of him is long life. Chapter 25. Wisdom shall praise herself, and shall glory in the midst of her people. In the congregation of the Most High shall she open her mouth, and triumph before his power. I came out of the mouth of the Most High, and covered the earth as a cloud. I lived in high places, and my throne is in a cloudy pillar. I alone compassed the circuit of heaven, and walked in the bottom of the deep. In the waves of the sea and in all the earth, and in every people and nation, I got a possession. With all these I sought rest. And in whose inheritance shall I abide? So the Creator of all things gave me a commandment. And he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, Let your dwelling be in Jacob, and your inheritance in Israel. He created me from the beginning before the world, and I shall never fail. In the holy tabernacle I serve before him, and so was I established in Sion. Likewise in the beloved city he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. And I took root in an honorable people, even in the portion of the Lord's inheritance. I was exalted like a cedar in Libanus, and as a cypress tree upon the mountains of Hermon. I was exalted like a palm tree in En-Gadi, and as a rose plant in Jericho, as a fair olive tree in a pleasant field, and grew up as a plane tree by the water. I gave a sweet smell like cinnamon and aspalathus, and I yielded a pleasant odor like the best myrrh, as galbanum, and onyx, and sweet storax, and as the fume of frankincense in the tabernacle. As the turpentine tree I stretched out my branches, and my branches are the branches of honor and grace. As the vine brought I forth pleasant savor, and my flowers are the fruit of honor and riches. I am the mother of fair love, and fear, and knowledge, and holy hope. I therefore, being eternal, am given to all my children which are named of him. Come to me, all you none that be desirous of me, and fill yourselves with my fruits. For my memorial is sweeter than honey, and my inheritance than the honeycomb. They that eat me shall yet be hungry, and they that drink me shall yet be thirsty. He that obeys me shall never be confounded, and they that work by me shall not do amiss. All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High God, even the law which Moses commanded for an heritage to the congregations of Jacob. Faint not to be strong in the Lord, that he may confirm you, cleave to him. For the Lord Almighty is God alone, and beside him there is no other Savior. He fills all things with his wisdom, as Pison and as Tigris in the time of the new fruits. He makes the understanding to abound like Euphrates, and as Jordan in the time of the harvest. He makes the doctrine of knowledge appear as the light, and as gin in the time of vintage. The first man knew her not perfectly, no more shall the last find her out. For her thoughts are more than the sea, and her counsels profounder than the great deep. I also came out as a brook from a river, and as a conduit into a garden. I said, I will water my best garden, and will water abundantly my garden bed. And, behold, my brook became a river, and my river became a sea. I will yet make doctrine to shine as the morning, and will send forth her light afar off. I will yet pour out doctrine as prophecy, and leave it to all ages forever. Behold that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek wisdom. Chapter 26. In 3 things I was beautified, and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together. 3 sorts of men my soul hates, and I am greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that dotes. If you have gathered nothing in your youth, how can you find anything in your age? Oh, how comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel. Oh, how comely is the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor. Much experience is the crown of old men, and the fear of God is their glory. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that has joy of his children, and he that lives to see the fall of his enemy. Well is him that dwells with a wife of understanding, and that has not slipped with his tongue, and that has not served a man more unworthy than himself. Well is him that has found prudence, and he that speaks in the ears of them that will hear. Oh, how great is he that finds wisdom! Yet is there none above him that fears the Lord. But the love of the Lord passes all things for illumination. He that holds it, whereto shall he be likened? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving to him. Give me any plague, but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness, but the wickedness of a woman, and any affliction, but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge, but the revenge of enemies. There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon, than to keep house with a wicked woman. The wickedness of a woman changes her face, and darkens her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he hears it shall sigh bitterly. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. A wicked woman abates the courage, makes an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress makes weak hands and feeble knees. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. If she go not as you would have her, cut her off from your flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go. Chapter 27. Blessed is the man that has a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. A virtuous woman rejoices her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. There be 3 things that my heart fears, and for the 4th I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation. All these are worse than death. But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicates. Withal, an evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that has hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causes great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. If your daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against you. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he has found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow. The grace of a wife delights her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind can't be valued. As the sun when it arises in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. As the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart. My son, keep the flower of your age sound, and give not your strength to strangers. When you have gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with your own seed, trusting in the goodness of your stock. So your race which you leave shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. And harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that fears the Lord. A dishonest woman contemns shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. A woman that honors her husband shall be judged wise of all, but she that dishonors him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all. A loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. There be 2 things that grieve my heart, and the third makes me angry: a man of war that suffers poverty, and men of understanding that are not set by, and one that returns from righteousness to sin. The Lord prepares such an one for the sword. A merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and an huckster shall not be freed from sin. Chapter 28. Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeks for abundance will turn his eyes away. As a nail sticks fast between the joinings of the stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown. As when one sifts with a sieve, the refuse remains, so the filth of man in his talk. The furnace proves the potter's vessels, so the trial of man is in his reasoning. The fruit declares if the tree have been dressed, so is the utterance of a conceit in the heart of man. Praise no man before you hear him speak, for this is the trial of men. If you follow righteousness, you shall obtain her, and put her on as a glorious long robe. The birds will resort to their like, so will truth return to them that practice in her. As the lion lies in wait for the prey, so sin for them that work iniquity. The discourse of a godly man is always with wisdom, but a fool changes as the moon. If you be among the indiscreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. The discourse of fools is irksome, and their sport is the wantonness of sin. The talk of him that swears much makes the hair stand upright, and their brawls make one stop his ears. The strife of the proud is blood-shedding, and their revilings are grievous to the ear. Whoso discovers secrets loses his credit, and shall never find friend to his mind. Love your friend, and be faithful to him. But if you betray his secrets, follow no more after him. For as a man has destroyed his enemy, so have you lost the love of your neighbor. As one that lets a bird go out of his hand, so have you let your neighbor go, and shall not get him again. Follow after him no more, for he is too far off. He is as a roe escaped out of the snare. As for a wound, it may be bound up, and after reviling there may be reconcilement. But he that betrays secrets is without hope. He that winks with the eyes works evil, and he that knows him will depart from him. When you are present, he will speak sweetly, and will admire your words. But at the last he will writhe his mouth, and slander your sayings. I have hated many things, but nothing like him, for the Lord will hate him. Whoso casts a stone on high casts it on his own head, and a deceitful stroke shall make wounds. Whoso digs a pit shall fall therein, and he that sets a trap shall be taken therein. He that works mischief, it shall fall upon him, and he shall not know whence it comes. Mockery and reproach are from the proud, but vengeance, as a lion, shall lie in wait for them. They that rejoice at the fall of the righteous shall be taken in the snare, and anguish shall consume them before they die. Malice and wrath, even these are abominations, and the sinful man shall have them both. Chapter 29. He that revenges shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. Forgive your neighbor the hurt that he has done to you, so shall your sins also be forgiven when you pray. One man bears hatred against another, and does he seek pardon from the Lord? He shows no mercy to a man which is like himself, and does he ask forgiveness of his own sins? If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? Remember your end, and let enmity cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments. Remember the commandments, and bear no malice to your neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest, and wink at ignorance. Abstain from strife, and you shall diminish your sins. For a furious man will kindle strife. A sinful man disquiets friends, and makes debate among them that be at peace. As the matter of the fire is, so it burns, and as a man's strength is, so is his wrath. And according to his riches his anger rises, and the stronger they are which contend, the more they will be inflamed. And hasty contention kindles a fire, and in hasty fighting sheds blood. If you blow the spark, it shall burn. If you spit upon it, it shall be quenched. And both these come out of your mouth. Curse the whisperer and double-tongued, for such have destroyed many that were at peace. A backbiting tongue has disquieted many, and driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities has it pulled down, and overthrown the houses of great men. A backbiting tongue has cast out virtuous women, and deprived them of their labors. Whoso hearkens to it shall never find rest, and never dwell quietly. The stroke of the whip makes marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaks the bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue. Well is he that is defended through the venom thereof, who has not drawn the yoke thereof, nor has been bound in her bands. For the yoke thereof is a yoke of iron, and the bands thereof are bands of brass. The death thereof is an evil death. The grave were better than it. It shall not have rule over them that fear God, neither shall they be burned with the flame thereof. Such as forsake the Lord shall fall into it, and it shall burn in them, and not be quenched. It shall be sent upon them as a lion, and devour them as a leopard. Look that you hedge your possession about with thorns, and bind up your silver and gold, and weigh your words in a balance, and make a door and bar for your mouth. Beware you slide not by it, lest you fall before him that lies in wait. Chapter 30. He that is merciful will lend to his neighbor, and he that strengthens his hand keeps the commandments. Lend to your neighbor in time of his need, and pay you your neighbor again in due season. Keep your word, and deal faithfully with him, and you shall always find the thing that is necessary for you. Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. Till he has received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissly. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time, and return words of grief, and complain of the time. If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half, and he will count as if he had found it. If not, he has deprived him of his money, and he has gotten him an enemy without cause. He pays him with cursings and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill-dealing, fearing to be defrauded. Yet have you patience with a man in poor estate, and delay not to show him mercy. Help the poor for the commandment's sake, and turn him not away because of his poverty. Lose your money for your brother and your friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost. Lay up your treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring you more profit than gold. Shut up alms in your storehouses, and it shall deliver you from all affliction. It shall fight for you against your enemies better than a mighty shield and strong spear. An honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him. Forget not the friendship of your surety, for he has given his life for you. A sinner will overthrow the good estate of his surety, and he that is of an unthankful mind will leave him in danger that delivered him. Suretyship has undone many of good estate, and shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men has it driven from their houses, so that they wandered among strange nations. A wicked man transgressing the commandments of the Lord shall fall into suretyship, and he that undertakes and follows other men's business for gain shall fall into suits. Help your neighbor according to your power, and beware that you yourself fall not into the same. The chief thing for life is water, and bread, and clothing, and an house to cover shame. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage, than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold you contented, that you hear not the reproach of your house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where you are a stranger, you dare not open your mouth. You shall entertain, and feast, and have no thanks. Moreover you shall hear bitter words. Come, you stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me of that you have ready. Give place, you stranger, to an honorable man. My brother comes to be lodged, and I have need of my house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding, the upbraiding of houseroom, and reproaching of the lender. Chapter 31. He that loves his son causes him often to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastises his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teaches his son grieves the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he has left one behind him that is like himself. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. He that makes too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. An horse not broken becomes headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. Cocker your child, and he shall make you afraid. Play with him, and he will bring you to heaviness. Laugh not with him, lest you have sorrow with him, and lest you gnash your teeth in the end. Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn, and be disobedient to you, and so bring sorrow to your heart. Chastise your son, and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense to you. Better is the poor, being sound and strong of constitution, than a rich man that is afflicted in his body. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. Death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. Delicates poured upon a mouth shut up are as messes of meat set upon a grave. What good does the offering to an idol? For neither can it eat nor smell. So is he that is persecuted of the Lord. He sees with his eyes and groans, as an eunuch that embraces a virgin and sighs. Give not over your mind to heaviness, and afflict not yourself in your own counsel. The gladness of the heart is the life of man, and the joyfulness of a man prolongs his days. Love your own soul, and comfort your heart. Remove sorrow far from you, for sorrow has killed many, and there is no profit therein. Envy and wrath shorten the life, and carefulness brings age before the time. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. Chapter 32. Watching for riches consumes the flesh, and the care thereof drives away sleep. Watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaks sleep. The rich has great labor in gathering riches together, and when he rests, he is filled with his delicates. The poor labors in his poor estate, and when he leaves off, he is still needy. He that loves gold shall not be justified, and he that follows corruption shall have enough thereof. Gold has been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block to them that sacrifice to it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish, and has not gone after gold. Who is he? And we will call him blessed, for wonderful things has he done among his people. Who has been tried thereby, and found perfect? Then let him glory, who might offend, and has not offended, or done evil, and has not done it. His good shall be established, and the congregation shall declare his alms. If you sit at a bountiful table, be not greedy upon it, and say not, there is much meat on it. Remember that a wicked eye is an evil thing, and what is created more wicked than an eye? Therefore it weeps upon every occasion. Stretch not your hand wherever it looks, and thrust it not with him into the dish. Judge not your neighbor by yourself, and be discreet in every point. Eat as it becomes a man, those things which are set before you, and devour not, lest you be hated. Leave off first for manners' sake, and be not unsatiable, lest you offend. When you sit among many, reach not your hand out first of all. A very little is sufficient for a man well nurtured, and he fetches not his wind short upon his bed. Sound sleep comes of moderate eating. He rises early, and his wits are with him. But the pain of watching, and choler, and pangs of the belly are with an unsatiable man. And if you have been forced to eat, arise, go forth, vomit, and you shall have rest. My son, hear me, and despise me not. And at the last you shall find as I told you. And all your works be quick, so shall there no sickness come to you. Whoso is liberal of his meat, men shall speak well of him, and the report of his good housekeeping will be believed. But against him that is a niggard of his meat the whole city shall murmur, and the testimonies of his niggardness shall not be doubted of. Show not your valiantness in wine, for wine has destroyed many. The furnace proves the edge by dipping, so does wine the hearts of the proud by drunkenness. Wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine? For it was made to make men glad. Wine measurably drunk and in season brings gladness of the heart, and cheerfulness of the mind. But wine drunken with excess makes bitterness of the mind, with brawling and quarreling. Drunkenness increases the rage of a fool till he offend. It diminishes strength, and makes wounds. Rebuke not your neighbor at the wine, and despise him not in his mirth. Give him no despiteful words, and press not upon him with urging him to drink. Chapter 33. If you be made the master of a feast, lift not yourself up, but be among them as one of the rest. Take diligent care for them, and so sit down. And when you have done all your office, take your place, that you may be merry with them, and receive a crown for your well-ordering of the feast. Speak, you that are the elder, for it becomes you, but with sound judgment. And hinder not music. Pour not out words where there is a musician, and show not forth wisdom out of time. A concert of music and a banquet of wine is as a signet of carbuncle set in gold, as a signet of an emerald set in a work of gold. So is the melody of music with pleasant wine. Speak, young man, if there be need of you. And yet scarcely when you are twice asked. Let your speech be short, comprehending much in few words. He is one that knows and yet holds his tongue. If you be among great men, make not yourself equal with them. And when ancient men are in place, use not many words. Before the thunder goes lightning, and before a shamefaced man shall go favor. Rise up betimes, and be not the last, but get you home without delay. There take your pastime, and do what you will. But sin not by proud speech. And for these things bless him that made you, and has replenished you with his good things. Whoso fears the Lord will receive his discipline, and they that seek him early shall find favor. He that seeks the law shall be filled therewith, but the hypocrite will be offended thereat. They that fear the Lord shall find judgment, and shall kindle justice as a light. A sinful man will not be reproved, but finds an excuse according to his will. A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear, even when of himself he has done without counsel. Do nothing without advice, and when you have once done, repent not. Go not in a way wherein you may fall, and stumble not among the stones. Be not confident in a plain way, and beware of your own children. In every good work trust your own soul, for this is the keeping of the commandments. He that believes in the Lord takes heed to the commandment, and he that trusts in him shall fare never the worse. Chapter 34. There shall no evil happen to him that fears the Lord, but in temptation even again he will deliver him. A wise man hates not the law, but he that is an hypocrite therein is as a ship in a storm. A man of understanding trusts in the law, and the law is faithful to him as an oracle. Prepare what to say, and so you shall be heard, and bind up instruction, and then make answer. The heart of the foolish is like a cartwheel, and his thoughts are like a rolling axle tree. A stallion horse is as a mocking friend. He neighs under every one that sits upon him. Why does one day excel another, when is all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. Some of them has he made high days, and hallowed them, and some of them has he made ordinary days. And all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. In much knowledge the Lord has divided them, and made their ways diverse. Some of them has he blessed and exalted, and some of them he sanctified, and set near himself. But some of them has he cursed and brought low, and turned out of their places. As the clay is in the potter's hand, to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him, to render to them as likes him best. Good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. I awaked up last of all, as one that gathers after the grape gatherers. By the blessing of the Lord I profited, and filled my winepress like a gatherer of grapes. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. Hear me, O you none great men of the people, and listen with your ears, you none rulers of the congregation. Give not your son and wife, your brother and friend, power over you while you live, and give not your goods to another, lest it repent you, and you entreat for the same again. As long as you live and have breath in you, give not yourself over to any. For better it is that your children should seek to you, than that you should stand to their courtesy. In all your works keep to yourself the preeminence. Leave not a stain in your honor. At the time when you shall end your days, and finish your life, distribute your inheritance. Fodder, a wand, and burdens are for the ass, and bread, correction, and work for a servant. If you set your servant to labor, you shall find rest. But if you let him go idle, he shall seek liberty. A yoke and a collar do bow the neck. So are tortures and torments for an evil servant. Send him to labor, that he be not idle. For idleness teaches much evil. Set him to work, as is fit for him. If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. But be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing. If you have a servant, let him be to you as yourself, because you have bought him with a price. If you have a servant, entreat him as a brother, for you have need of him as of your own soul. If you entreat him evil, and he run from you, which way will you go to seek him? Chapter 35. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. Whoso regards dreams is like him that catches at a shadow, and follows after the wind. The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face. Of an unclean thing what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false what truth can come? Divinations, and soothsayings, and dreams are vain, and the heart fancies, as a woman's heart in travail. If they be not sent from the Most High in your visitation, set not your heart upon them. For dreams have deceived many, and they have failed that put their trust in them. The law shall be found perfect without lies, and wisdom is perfection. To a faithful mouth, a man that has traveled knows many things, and he that has much experience will declare wisdom. He that has no experience knows little, but he that has traveled is full of prudence. When I traveled, I saw many things, and I understand more than I can express. I was oft times in danger of death, yet I was delivered because of these things. The spirit of those that fear the Lord shall live, for their hope is in him that saves them. Whoso fears the Lord shall not fear nor be afraid. for he is his hope. Blessed is the soul of him that fears the Lord. To whom does he look? And who is his strength? For the eyes of the Lord are upon them that love him. He is their mighty protection and strong stay, a defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon, a preservation from stumbling, and an help from falling. He raises up the soul and lightens the eyes. He gives health, life, and blessing. He that sacrifices of a thing wrongfully gotten, his offering is ridiculous, and the gifts of unjust men are not accepted. The Most High is not pleased with the offerings of the wicked, neither is he pacified for sin by the multitude of sacrifices. Whoso brings an offering of the goods of the poor does as one that kills the son before his father's eyes. The bread of the needy is their life. He that defrauds him thereof is a man of blood. He that takes away his neighbor's living slays him, and he that defrauds the labor of his hire is a bloodshedder. When one builds and another pulls down, what profit have they then but labor? When one prays and another curses, whose voice will the Lord hear? He that washes himself after the touching of a dead body, if he touch it again, what avails his washing? So is it with a man that fasts for his sins, and goes again and does the same. Who will hear his prayer? Or what does his humbling profit him? Chapter 36. He that keeps the law brings offerings. Enough. He that takes heed to the commandment offers a peace offering. He that requites a good turn offers fine flour. And he that gives alms sacrifices praise. To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation. You shall not appear empty before the Lord, for all these things are to be done because of the commandment. The offering of the righteous makes the altar fat, and the sweet savor thereof is before the Most High. The sacrifice of a just man is acceptable, and the memorial thereof shall never be forgotten. Give the Lord his honor with a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of your hands. And all your gifts show a cheerful countenance, and dedicate your tithes with gladness. Give to the Most High according as he has enriched you, and as you have gotten, give with a cheerful eye. For the Lord recompenses, and will give you 7 times as much. Do not think to corrupt with gifts, for such he will not receive. And trust not to unrighteous sacrifices, for the Lord is judge, and with him is no respect of persons. He will not accept any person against a poor man, but will hear the prayer of the oppressed. He will not despise the supplication of the fatherless, nor the widow, when she pours out her complaint. Do not the tears run down the widow's cheeks? And is not her cry against him, that causes them to fall? He that serves the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach to the clouds. The prayer of the humble pierces the clouds, and till it come near, he will not be comforted, and will not depart, till the Most High shall behold to judge righteously, and execute judgment. For the Lord will not be slack, neither will the mighty be patient toward them, till he have struck in sunder the loins of the unmerciful, and repaid vengeance to the heathen, till he have taken away the multitude of the proud, and broken the scepter of the unrighteous, till he have rendered to every man according to his deeds, and to the works of men according to their devices, till he have judged the cause of his people, and made them to rejoice in his mercy. Mercy is seasonable in the time of affliction, as clouds of rain in the time of drought. Chapter 37. Have mercy upon us, O Lord God of all, and behold us, and send your fear upon all the nations that seek not after you. Lift up your hand against the strange nations, and let them see your power. As you were sanctified in us before them, so be you magnified among them before us. And let them know you, as we have known you, that there is no God but only you, O God. Show new signs, and make other strange wonders. Glorify your hand and your right arm, that they may set forth your wondrous works. Raise up indignation, and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary, and destroy the enemy. Sake the time short, remember the covenant, and let them declare your wonderful works. Let him that escapes be consumed by the rage of the fire, and let them perish that oppress the people. Strike in sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen, that say, there is none other but we. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together, and inherit you them as from the beginning. Though I was the last to wake up, yet I received their inheritance as from the beginning. O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by your name, and upon Israel, whom you have named your firstborn. O be merciful to Jerusalem, your holy city, the place of your rest. Fill Sion with your unspeakable oracles, and your people with your glory. Give testimony to those that you have possessed from the beginning, and raise up prophets that have been in your name. Reward them that wait for you, and let your prophets be found faithful. O Lord, hear the prayer of your servants, according to the blessing of Aaron over your people, that all they which dwell upon the earth may know that you are the Lord, the eternal God. The belly devours all meats, yet is one meat better than another. As the palate tastes various kinds of venison, so does an heart of understanding false speeches. A froward heart causes heaviness, but a man of experience will recompense him. A woman will receive every man, yet is one daughter better than another. The beauty of a woman cheers the countenance, and a man loves nothing better. If there be kindness, meekness, and comfort in her tongue, then is not her husband like other men. He that gets a wife begins a possession, a help like to himself, and a pillar of rest. Where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled. And he that has no wife will wander up and down mourning. Who will trust a thief well appointed, that skips from city to city? So who will believe a man that has no house, and lodges wherever the night takes him? Chapter 38. Every friend says, I am his friend also. But there is a friend, which is only a friend in name. Is it not a grief to death, when a companion and friend is turned to an enemy? O wicked imagination, whence came you in to cover the earth with deceit? There is a companion, which rejoices in the prosperity of a friend, but in the time of trouble will be against him. There is a companion, which helps his friend for the belly, and takes up the buckler against the enemy. Forget not your friend in your mind, and be not unmindful of him in your riches. Every counselor extols counsel, but there is some that counsels for himself. Beware of a counselor, and know before what need he has, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast the lot upon you, and say to you, your way is good, and afterward he stand on the other side, to see what shall befall you. Consult not with one that suspects you, and hide your counsel from such as envy you. Neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous, neither with a coward in matters of war, nor with a merchant concerning exchange, nor with a buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with the slothful for any work, nor with an hireling for a year of finishing work, nor with an idle servant of much business. Listen not to these in any matter of counsel, but be continually with a godly man, whom you know to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to your mind, and will sorrow with you if you shall miscarry. And let the counsel of your own heart stand, for there is no man more faithful to you than it. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in an high tower. And above all this pray to the Most High, that he will direct your way in truth. Let reason go before every enterprise, and counsel before every action. The countenance is a sign of changing of the heart. 4 manner of things appear, good and evil, life and death, but the tongue rules over them continually. There is one that is wise and teaches many, and yet is unprofitable to himself. There is one that shows wisdom in words, and is hated. He shall be destitute of all food. For grace is not given him from the Lord, because he is deprived of all wisdom. Another is wise to himself, and the fruits of understanding are commendable in his mouth. A wise man instructs his people, and the fruits of his understanding fail not. A wise man shall be filled with blessing, and all they that see him shall count him happy. The days of the life of man may be numbered, but the days of Israel are innumerable. A wise man shall inherit glory among his people, and his name shall be perpetual. My son, prove your soul in your life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that to it. For all things are not profitable for all men, neither has every soul pleasure in everything. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats. For excessive meats brings sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler. By surfeiting have many perished, but he that takes heed prolongs his life. Chapter 39. Honor a physician with the honor due to him, for the uses which you none may have of him. For the Lord has created him. For of the Most High comes healing, and he shall receive honor of the king. The skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be in admiration. The Lord has created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. Was not the water made sweet with wood, that the virtue thereof might be known? And he has given men skill, that he might be honored in his marvelous works. With such does he heal men, and takes away their pains. Of such does the apothecary make a confection, and of his works there is no end. And from him is peace over all the earth. My son, in your sickness be not negligent, but pray to the Lord, and he will make you whole. Leave off from sin, and order your hands aright, and cleanse your heart from all wickedness. Give a sweet savor, and a memorial of fine flour, and make a fat offering, as not being. Then give place to the physician, for the Lord has created him. Let him not go from you, for you have need of him. There is a time when in their hands there is good success, for they shall also pray to the Lord, that he would prosper that which they give for ease and remedy to prolong life. He that sins before his Maker, let him fall into the hand of the physician. My son, let tears fall down over the dead, and begin to lament as if you had suffered great harm yourself. And then cover his body according to the custom, and neglect not his burial. Weep bitterly, and make great moan, and use lamentation, as he is worthy, and that a day or two, lest you be evil spoken of. And then comfort yourself for your heaviness, for of heaviness comes death, and the heaviness of the heart breaks strength. In affliction also sorrow remains, and the life of the poor is the curse of the heart. Take no heaviness to heart, drive it away, and remember the last end. Forget it not, for there is no turning again. You shall not do him good, but hurt yourself. Remember my judgment, for your also shall be so. Yesterday for me, and today for you. When the dead is at rest, let his remembrance rest, and be comforted for him when his spirit is departed from him. The wisdom of a learned man comes by opportunity of leisure, and he that has little business shall become wise. How can he get wisdom that holds the plough, and that glories in the goad, that drives oxen, and is occupied in their labors, and whose talk is of bullocks. He gives his mind to make furrows, and is diligent to give the kine fodder. So every carpenter and workmaster that labors night and day, and they that cut and grave seals, and are diligent to make great variety, and give themselves to counterfeit imagery, and watch to finish a work. The smith also sitting by the anvil, and considering the iron work, the vapor of the fire wastes his flesh, and he fights with heat of the furnace. The noise of the hammer and the anvil is ever in his ears, and his eyes look still upon the pattern of the thing that he makes. He sets his mind to finish his work, and watches to polish it perfectly. So does the potter sitting at his work, and turning the wheel about with his feet, who is always carefully set at his work, and makes all his work by number. He fashions the clay with his arm, and bows down his strength before his feet. He applies himself to lead it over, and he is diligent to make clean the furnace. All these trust to their hands, and every one is wise in his work. Without these can't a city be inhabited, and they shall not dwell where they will, nor go up and down. They shall not be sought for in public council, nor sit high in the congregation. They shall not sit on the judge's seat, nor understand the sentence of judgment. They can't declare justice and judgment, and they shall not be found where parables are spoken. But they will maintain the state of the world, and all their desire is in the work of their craft. Chapter 40. But he that gives his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences, and be conversant in dark parables. He shall serve among great men, and appear before princes. He will travel through strange countries, for he has tried the good and the evil among men. He will give his heart to resort early to the Lord that made him, and will pray before the Most High, and will open his mouth in prayer, and make supplication for his sins. When the great Lord will, he shall be filled with the spirit of understanding. He shall pour out wise sentences, and give thanks to the Lord in his prayer. He shall direct his counsel in knowledge, and in his secrets shall he meditate. He shall show forth that which he has learned, and shall glory in the law of the covenant of the Lord. Then he shall commend his understanding. And so long as the world endures, it shall not be blotted out. His memorial shall not depart away, and his name shall live from generation to generation. Nations shall show forth his wisdom, and the congregation shall declare his praise. If he die, he shall leave a greater name than 1,000, and if he live, he shall increase it. Yet have I more to say, which I have thought upon, for I am filled as the moon at the full. Listen to me, you holy children, and bud forth as a rose growing by the brook of the field, and give you a sweet savor as frankincense, and flourish as a lily. Send forth a smell, and sing a song of praise. Bless the Lord in all his works. Magnify his name, and show forth his praise with the songs of your lips, and with harps, and in praising him you shall say, after this manner, all the works of the Lord are exceeding good, and whatever he commands shall be accomplished in due season. And none may say, what is this? Therefore is that. For at time convenient they shall all be sought out. At his commandment the waters stood as an heap, and at the words of his mouth the receptacles of waters. At his commandment is done whatever pleases him, and none can hinder when he will save. The works of all flesh are before him, and nothing can be hid from his eyes. He sees from everlasting to everlasting, and there is nothing wonderful before him. A man need not to say, what is this? Therefore is that. For he has made all things for their uses. His blessing covered the dry land as a river, and watered it as a flood. As he has turned the waters into saltness, so shall the heathen inherit his wrath. As his ways are plain to the holy, so are they stumbling blocks to the wicked. For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil, and clothing. All these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners they are turned into evil. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire, and hail, and famine, and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts, and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. Therefore from the beginning I was resolved, and thought upon these things, and have left them in writing. All the works of the Lord are good, and he will give every needful thing in due season, so that a man can't say, this is worse than that. For in time they shall all be well approved. And therefore praise ye the Lord with the whole heart and mouth, and bless the name of the Lord. Chapter 41. Great travail is created for every man, and an heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam, from the day that they go out of their mother's womb, till the day that they return to the mother of all things. Their imagination of things to come, and the day of death, trouble their thoughts, and cause fear of heart. from him that sits on a throne of glory, to him that is humbled in earth and ashes, from him that wears purple and a crown, to him that is clothed with a linen frock, wrath, and envy, trouble, and unquietness, fear of death, and anger, and strife, and in the time of rest upon his bed his night's sleep, do change his knowledge. A little or nothing is his rest. And afterward he is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart, as if he were escaped out of a battle. When all is safe, he awakens, and marvels that the fear was nothing. Such things happen to all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners: death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. All things that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again, and that which is of the waters does return into the sea. All bribery and injustice shall be blotted out, but true dealing shall endure forever. The goods of the unjust shall be dried up like a river, and shall vanish with noise, like a great thunder and rain. While he opens his hand he shall rejoice. So shall transgressors come to nothing. The children of the ungodly shall not bring forth many branches, but are as unclean roots upon a hard rock. The weed growing upon every water and bank of a river shall be pulled up before all grass. Bountifulness is as a most fruitful garden, and mercifulness endures forever. To labor and to be content with that a man has is a sweet life, but he that finds a treasure is above them both. Children and the building of a city continue a man's name, but a blameless wife is counted above them both. Wine and music rejoice the heart, but the love of wisdom is above them both. The pipe and the lute make sweet melody, but a pleasant tongue is above them both. Your eye desires favor and beauty, but more than both corn while it is green. A friend and companion never meet amiss, but above both is a wife with her husband, brethren and helper against time of trouble. But alms shall deliver more than them both. Gold and silver make the foot stand sure, but counsel is esteemed above them both. Riches and strength lift up the heart, but the fear of the Lord is above them both. There is no lack in the fear of the Lord, and it needs not to seek help. The fear of the Lord is a fruitful garden, and covers him above all glory. My son, lead not a beggar's life, for better it is to die than to beg. The life of him that depends on another man's table is not to be counted for a life, for he pollutes himself with other men's meat. But a wise man well nurtured will beware thereof. Begging is sweet in the mouth of the shameless, but in his belly there shall burn a fire. Chapter 42. O death, how bitter is the remembrance of you to a man that lives at rest in his possessions, to the man that has nothing to vex him, and that has prosperity in all things. Yes, to him that is yet able to receive meat. O death, acceptable is your sentence to the needy, and to him whose strength fails, that is now in the last age, and is vexed with all things, and to him that despairs, and has lost patience. Fear not the sentence of death. Remember them that have been before you, and that come after. For this is the sentence of the Lord over all flesh. And why are you against the pleasure of the Most High? There is no inquisition in the grave, whether you have lived 10 or 100 or 1,000 years. The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. Woe be to you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High God. For if you increase, it shall be to your destruction. And if you be born, you shall be born to a curse. And if you die, a curse shall be your portion. All that are of the earth shall turn to earth again. So the ungodly shall go from a curse to destruction. The mourning of men is about their bodies, but an ill name of sinners shall be blotted out. Have regard to your name, for that shall continue with you above 1,000 great treasures of gold. A good life has but few days, but a good name endures forever. My children, keep discipline and peace, for wisdom that is hid, and a treasure that is not seen, what profit is in them both? A man that hides his foolishness is better than a man that hides his wisdom. Therefore be shamefaced according to my word, for it is not good to retain all shamefacedness, neither is it altogether approved in everything. Be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother, and of a lie before a prince and a mighty man, of an offense before a judge and ruler, of iniquity before a congregation and people, of unjust dealing before your partner and friend, and of theft in regard of the place where you sojourn, and in regard of the truth of God and his covenant, and to lean with your elbow upon the meat, and of scorning to give and take, and of silence before them that salute you, and to look upon an harlot, and to turn away your face from your kinsman, or to take away a portion or a gift, or to gaze upon another man's wife, or to be overbusy with his maid, and come not near her bed, or of upbraiding speeches before friends, and after you have given, upbraid not. Chapter 43. Or of iterating and speaking again that which you have heard, and of revealing of secrets. So shall you be truly shamefaced, and find favor before all men. Of these things be not you ashamed, and accept no person to sin thereby. Of the law of the Most High, and his covenant, and of judgment to justify the ungodly, of reckoning with your partners and travelers, or of the gift of the heritage of friends, of exactness of balance and weights, or of getting much or little, and of merchants indifferent selling, of much correction of children. And 2, make the side of an evil servant to bleed. Sure keeping is good, where an evil wife is, and shut up, where many hands are. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing that you give out or receive in. Be not ashamed to inform the unwise and foolish, and the extreme age that contends with those that are young. Thus shall you be truly learned, and approved of all men living. A daughter is a wakeful care to a father, and the care for her takes away sleep, when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be hated, in her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house, and having an husband, lest she should misbehave herself, and when she is married, lest she should be barren. Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter, lest she make you a laughing stock to your enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make you ashamed before the multitude. Behold not every body's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. For from garments comes a moth, and from women wickedness. Better is the churlishness of a man than a courteous woman. A woman, I say, which brings shame and reproach. I will now remember the works of the Lord, and declare the things that I have seen. In the words of the Lord are his works. The sun that gives light looks upon all things, and the work thereof is full of the glory of the Lord. The Lord has not given power to the saints to declare all his marvelous works, which the Almighty Lord firmly settled, that whatever is might be established for his glory. He seeks out the deep and the heart, and considers their crafty devices. For the Lord knows all that may be known, and he sees the signs of the world. He declares the things that are past, and for to come, and reveals the steps of hidden things. No thought escapes him, neither any word is hidden from him. He has garnished the excellent works of his wisdom, and he is from everlasting to everlasting. To him may nothing be added, neither can he be diminished, and he has no need of any counselor. Oh, how desirable are all his works, and that a man may see even to a spark. All these things live and remain forever for all uses, and they are all obedient. All things are double one against another, and he has made nothing imperfect. One thing establishes the good or another, and who shall be filled with beholding his glory. Chapter 44. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven, with his glorious show. The sun when it appears, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parches the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burns the mountains 3 times more. Breathing out fiery vapors, and sending forth bright beams, it dims the eyes. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment runs hastily. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times, and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord. At the commandment of the Holy One they will stand in their order, and never faint in their watches. Look upon the rainbow, and praise him that made it. Very beautiful it is in the brightness thereof. It encircles the heaven about with a glorious circle, and the hands of the Most High have bended it. By his commandment he makes the snow to fall apace, and sends swiftly the lightnings of his judgment. Through this the treasures are opened, and clouds fly forth his vows. By his great power he makes the clouds firm, and the hailstones are broken small. At his sight the mountains are shaken, and at his will the south wind blows. The noise of the thunder makes the earth to tremble, so does the northern storm and the whirlwind. As birds flying he scatters the snow, and the falling down thereof is as the lighting of grasshoppers. The eye marvels at the beauty of the whiteness thereof, and the heart is astonished at the raining of it. The hoarfrost also as salt he pours on the earth, and being congealed, it lies on the top of sharp stakes. When the cold north wind blows, and the water is congealed into ice, it remains upon every gathering together of water, and clothes the water as with a breastplate. It devours the mountains, and burns the wilderness, and consumes the grass as fire. A present remedy of all is a mist coming speedily. A dew coming after heat refreshes. By his counsel he appeases the deep, and plants islands therein. They that sail on the sea tell of the danger thereof. And when we hear it with our ears, we marvel thereat. For therein be strange and wondrous works, variety of all kinds of beasts and whales created. By him the end of them has prosperous success, and by his word all things consist. We may speak much, and yet come short. Therefore in sum, he is all. How shall we be able to magnify him? For he is great above all his works. The Lord is terrible and very great, and marvelous is his power. When you none glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as you can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when you none exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for you can never go far enough. Who has seen him, that he might tell us? And who can magnify him as he is? There are yet hid greater things than these be, for we have seen but a few of his works. For the Lord has made all things, and to the godly has he given wisdom. Chapter 45. Let us now praise famous men, and our fathers that became the father of us. The Lord has wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning, such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, and declaring prophecies. Leaders of the people by their counsels, and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people. Wise and eloquent are their instructions, such as found out musical tunes, and recited verses in writing. Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations. All these were honored in their generations, and were the glory of their times. There be of them that have left a name behind them, that their praises might be reported. And some there be which have no memorial, who are perished, as though they had never been, and are become as though they had never been born, and their children after them. But these were merciful men, whose righteousness has not been forgotten. With their seed shall continually remain a good inheritance, and their children are within the covenant. Their seed stands fast, and their children for their sakes. Their seed shall remain forever, and their glory shall not be blotted out. Their bodies are buried in peace, but their name lives forevermore. The people will tell of their wisdom, and the congregation will show forth their praise. Enoch pleased the Lord, and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations. Noah was found perfect and righteous. In the time of wrath he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant to the earth when the flood came. An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like to him, who kept the law of the Most High, and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. Therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river to the utmost part of the land. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake the blessing of all men, and the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him an heritage, and divided his portions. Among the 12 tribes did he part them. And he brought out of him a merciful man, which found favor in the sight of all flesh, even Moses, beloved of God and men, whose memorial is blessed. Chapter 46. He made him like to the glorious saints, and magnified him, so that his enemies stood in fear of him. By his words he caused the wonders to cease, and he made him glorious in the sight of kings, and gave him a commandment for his people, and showed him part of his glory. He sanctified him in his faithfulness and meekness, and chose him out of all men. He made him to hear his voice, and brought him into the dark cloud, and gave him commandments before his face, even the law of life and knowledge, that he might teach Jacob his covenants, and Israel his judgments. He exalted Aaron, an holy man like to him, even his brother, of the tribe of Levi. An everlasting covenant he made with him, and gave him the priesthood among the people. He beautified him with comely ornaments, and clothed him with a robe of glory. He put upon him perfect glory, and strengthened him with rich garments, with breeches, with a long robe, and the ephod. And he compassed him with pomegranates, and with many golden bells round about, that as he went there might be a sound, and a noise made that might be heard in the temple, for a memorial to the children of his people. With an holy garment, with gold, and blue silk, and purple, the work of the embroiderer, with a breastplate of judgment, and with Urim and Thummim. With twisted scarlet, the work of the cunning workman, with precious stones graven like seals, and set in gold, the work of the jeweler, with a writing engraved for a memorial, after the number of the tribes of Israel. He set a crown of gold upon the mitre, wherein was engraved holiness, an ornament of honor, a costly work, the desires of the eyes, goodly and beautiful. Before him there were none such, neither did ever any stranger put them on, but only his children and his children's children perpetually. Their sacrifices shall be wholly consumed every day twice continually. Moses consecrated him, and anointed him with holy oil. This was appointed to him by an everlasting covenant, and to his seed, so long as the heavens should remain, that they should minister to him, and execute the office of the priesthood, and bless the people in his name. He chose him out of all men living to offer sacrifices to the Lord, incense, and a sweet savor, for a memorial, to make reconciliation for his people. He gave to him his commandments, and authority in the statutes of judgments, that he should teach Jacob the testimonies, and inform Israel in his laws. Strangers conspired together against him, and maligned him in the wilderness, even the men that were of Dathan's and Abiron's side, and the congregation of Kor, with fury and wrath. This the Lord saw, and it displeased him, and in his wrathful indignation were they consumed. He did wonders upon them, to consume them with the fiery flame. But he made Aaron more honorable, and gave him an heritage, and divided to him the first fruits of the increase. Especially he prepared bread in abundance, for they eat of the sacrifices of the Lord, which he gave to him. and his seed. Howbeit in the land of the people he had no inheritance, neither had he any portion among the people. For the Lord himself is his portion and inheritance. The third in glory is Phinehas the son of Eleazar, because he had zeal in the fear of the Lord, and stood up with good courage of heart, when the people were turned back, and made reconciliation for Israel. Therefore was there a covenant of peace made with him, that he should be the chief of the sanctuary and of his people, and that he and his posterity should have the dignity of priesthood forever, according to the covenant made with David son of Jesse, of the tribe of Judah, that the inheritance of the king should be to his posterity alone. So the inheritance of Aaron should also be to his seed. God give you wisdom in your heart to judge his people in righteousness, that their good things be not abolished, and that their glory may endure forever. Chapter 47. Jesus the son of Nave was valiant in the wars, and was the successor of Moses in prophecies, who according to his name was made great for the saving of the elect of God, and taking vengeance of the enemies that rose up against them, that he might set Israel in their inheritance. How great glory got he, when he did lift up his hands, and stretched out his sword against the cities, who before him so stood to it. For the Lord himself brought his enemies to him. Did not the sun go back by his means, and was not one day as long as two? He called upon the Most High Lord, when the enemies pressed upon him on every side, and the great Lord heard him, and with hailstones of mighty power he made the battle to fall violently upon the nations. And in the descent of Beth Horon he destroyed them that resisted, that the nations might know all their strength, because he fought in the sight of the Lord, and he followed the mighty one. In the time of Moses also he did a work of mercy. He and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, in that they withstood the congregation, and withheld the people from sin, and appeased the wicked murmuring. And of 600,000 people on foot, they too were preserved to bring them into the heritage, even to the land that flows with milk and honey. The Lord gave strength also to Caleb, which remained with him to his old age, so that he entered upon the high places of the land, and his seed obtained it for inheritance, that all the children of Israel might see that it is good to follow the Lord. And concerning the judges, every one by name, whose heart went not a whoring, nor departed from the Lord, let their memory be blessed. Let their bones flourish out of their place, and let the name of them that were honored be continued upon their children. Samuel, the prophet of the Lord, beloved of his Lord, established a kingdom, and anointed princes over his people. By the law of the Lord he judged the congregation, and the Lord had respect to Jacob. By his faithfulness he was found a true prophet, and by his word he was known to be faithful in vision. He called upon the mighty Lord, when his enemies pressed upon him on every side, when he offered the sucking lamb. And the Lord thundered from heaven, and with a great noise made his voice to be heard. And he destroyed the rulers of the Tyrians, and all the princes of the Philistines. And before his long sleep he made protestations in the sight of the Lord and his anointed, I have not taken any man's goods, so much as a shoe. And no man did accuse him. And after his death he prophesied, and showed the king his end, and lifted up his voice from the earth in prophecy, to blot out the wickedness of the people. Chapter 48. And after him rose up Nathan to prophesy, in the time of David. As is the fat taken away from the peace offering, so was David chosen out of the children of Israel. He played with lions as with kids, and with bears as with lambs. Slew he not a giant, when he was yet but young? And did he not take away reproach from the people, when he lifted up his hand with the stone and the sling, and beat down the boasting of Goliath? For he called upon the Most High Lord, and he gave him strength in his right hand to kill that mighty warrior, and set up the horn of his people. So the people honored him with 10,000s, and praised him in the blessings of the Lord, in that he gave him a crown of glory. For he destroyed the enemies on every side, and brought to nothing the Philistines his adversaries, and brake their horn in sunder to this day. In all his works he praised the Holy One Most High with words of glory. With his whole heart he sung songs, and loved him that made him. He set singers also before the altar, that by their voices they might make sweet melody, and daily sing praises in their songs. He beautified their feasts, and set in order the solemn times until the end, that they might praise his holy name, and that the temple might sound from morning. The Lord took away his sins, and exalted his horn forever. He gave him a covenant of kings, and a throne of glory in Israel. After him rose up a wise son, and for his sake he lived at large. Solomon reigned in a peaceful time, and was honored, for God made all quiet round about him, that he might build an house in his name, and prepare his sanctuary forever. How wise was you in your youth, and, as a flood, filled with understanding. Your soul covered the whole earth, and you filled it with dark parables. Your name went far to the islands, and for your peace you were beloved. The countries marveled at you for your songs, and proverbs, and parables, and interpretations. By the name of the Lord God, which is called the Lord God of Israel, you did gather gold as tin, and did multiply silver as lead. You did bow your loins to women, and by your body you were brought into subjection. You did stain your honor, and pollute your seed, so that you brought wrath upon your children, and was grieved for your folly. So the kingdom was divided, and out of Ephraim ruled a rebellious kingdom. But the Lord will never leave off his mercy, neither shall any of his works perish, neither will he abolish the posterity of his elect, and the seed of him that loves him he will not take away. Therefore he gave a remnant to Jacob, and out of him a root to David. Thus rested Solomon with his fathers, and of his seed he left behind him Rehoboam, even the foolishness of the people, and one that had no understanding, who turned away the people through his counsel. There was also Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin, and showed Ephraim the way of sin. And their sins were multiplied exceedingly, that they were driven out of the land. For they sought out all wickedness, till the vengeance came upon them. Then stood up Elias the prophet as fire, and his word burned like a lamp. He brought a sore famine upon them, and by his zeal he diminished their number. By the word of the Lord he shut up the heaven, and also 3 times brought down fire. O Elias, how was you honored in your wondrous deeds? And who made glory like to you? Who did raise up a dead man from death, and his soul from the place of the dead, by the word of the Most High? Who brought kings to destruction, and honorably men from their bed? Who heard the rebuke of the Lord in Sinai, and in Horeb the judgment of vengeance? Who anointed kings to take revenge, and prophets to succeed after him? Who was taken up in a whirlwind of fire, and in a chariot of fiery horses? Who was ordained for reproofs in their times, to pacify the wrath of the Lord's judgment, before it break forth into fury, and to turn the heart of the father to the son, and to restore the tribes of Jacob? Blessed are they that saw you, and slept in love, for we shall surely live. Elias it was, who was covered with a whirlwind, and Eliseus was filled with his spirit. While he lived, he was not moved with the presence of any prince, neither could any bring him into subjection. No word could overcome him, and after his death his body prophesied. He did wonders in his life, and at his death were his works marvelous. For all this the people repented not, neither departed they from their sins, till they were spoiled and carried out of their land, and were scattered through all the earth. Yet there remained a small people, and a ruler in the house of David, of whom some did that which was pleasing to God, and some multiplied sins. Ezekias fortified his city, and brought in water into the midst thereof. He digged the hard rock with iron, and made wells for waters. In his time Sennacherib came up, and sent Rabsaces, and lifted up his hand against Sion, and boasted proudly. Then trembled their hearts and hands, and they were in pain, as women in travail. But they called upon the Lord which is merciful, and stretched out their hands toward him. And immediately the Holy One heard them out of heaven, and delivered them by the ministry of Essay. He struck the host of the Assyrians, and his angel destroyed them. For Ezekias had done the thing that pleased the Lord, and was strong in the ways of David his father, as Essay the prophet, who was great and faithful in his vision, had commanded him. In his time the sun went backward, and he lengthened the king's life. He saw by an excellent spirit what should come to pass at the last, and he comforted them that mourned in Sion. He showed what should come to pass forever, and secret things or ever they came. The remembrance of Josias is like the composition of the perfume that is made by the art of the apothecary. It is sweet as honey in all mouths, and as music at a banquet of wine. He behaved himself uprightly in the conversion of the people, and took away the abominations of iniquity. He directed his heart to the Lord, and in the time of the ungodly he established the worship of God. All, except David and Ezekias and Josias, were defective, for they forsook the law of the Most High. Even the kings of Judah failed. Therefore he gave their power to others, and their glory to a strange nation. They burnt the chosen city of the sanctuary, and made the streets desolate, according to the prophecy of Jeremias. For they entreated him evil, who nevertheless was a prophet, sanctified in his mother's womb, that he might root out, and afflict, and destroy, and that he might build up also, and plant. It was Ezekiel who saw the glorious vision, which was showed him upon the chariot of the cherubims. For he made mention of the enemies under the figure of the rain, and directed them that went right. And of the 12 prophets let the memorial be blessed, and let their bones flourish again out of their place. For they comforted Jacob, and delivered them by assured hope. How shall we magnify Zorobabel? Even he was as a signet on the right hand. So was Jesus the son of Jostek, who in their time builded the house, and set up an holy temple to the Lord, which was prepared for everlasting glory. And among the elect was Nehemias, whose renown is great, who raised up for us the walls that were fallen, and set up the gates and the bars, and raised up our ruins again. But upon the earth was no man created like Enoch, for he was taken from the earth. Neither was there a young man born like Joseph, a governor of his brethren, a stay of the people, whose bones were regarded of the Lord. Sem and Seth were in great honor among men, and so was Adam above every living thing in creation. Simon the high priest, the son of Onias, who, in his life repaired the house again, and in his days fortified the temple. And by him was built from the foundation the double height, the high fortress of the wall about the temple. In his days the cistern to receive water, being encompassed as the sea, was covered with plates of brass. He took care of the temple that it should not fall, and fortified the city against besieging. How was he honored in the midst of the people in his coming out of the sanctuary? He was as the morning star in the midst of a cloud, and as the moon at the full, as the sun shining upon the temple of the Most High, and as the rainbow giving light in the bright clouds, and as the flower of roses in the spring of the year, as lilies by the rivers of waters, and as the branches of the frankincense tree in the time of summer, as fire and incense in the censer, and as a vessel of beaten gold set with all manner of precious stones, and as a fair olive tree budding forth fruit, and as a cypress tree which grows up to the clouds. When he put on the robe of honor, and was clothed with the perfection of glory, when he went up to the holy altar, he made the garment of holiness honorable. When he took the portions out of the priest's hands, he himself stood by the hearth of the altar, compassed about, as a young cedar in Libanus. And as palm trees compassed they him round about. So were all the sons of Aaron in their glory, and the oblations of the Lord in their hands, before all the congregation of Israel. And finishing the service at the altar, that he might adorn the offering of the Most High Almighty, he stretched out his hand to the cup, and poured of the blood of the grape. He poured out at the foot of the altar a sweet-smelling savor to the Most High King of all. Then shouted the sons of Aaron, and sounded the silver trumpets, and made a great noise to be heard, for a remembrance before the Most High. Then all the people together hasted, and fell down to the earth upon their faces to worship their Lord God Almighty, the Most High. The singers also sang praises with their voices. With great variety of sounds was there made sweet melody. And the people implored the Lord, the Most High, by prayer before him that is merciful, till the solemnity of the Lord was ended, and they had finished his service. Then he went down, and lifted up his hands over the whole congregation of the children of Israel, to give the blessing of the Lord with his lips, and to rejoice in his name. And they bowed themselves down to worship the second time, that they might receive a blessing from the Most High. Now therefore bless you none the God of all, which only does wondrous things everywhere, which exalts our days from the womb, and deals with us according to his mercy. He grant us joyfulness of heart, and that peace may be in our days in Israel forever, that he would confirm his mercy with us, and deliver us at his time. There be two manner of nations which my heart abhors, and the third is no nation. They that sit upon the mountain of Samaria, and they that dwell among the Philistines, and that foolish people that dwell in Shechem. Jesus the son of Sirach of Jerusalem has written in this book the instruction of understanding and knowledge, who out of his heart poured forth wisdom. Blessed is he that shall be exercised in these things, and he that lays them up in his heart shall become wise. For if he do them, he shall be strong to all things. For the light of the Lord leads him, who gives wisdom to the godly. Blessed be the name of the Lord forever. Amen. Amen. Chapter 49. I will thank you, O Lord and King, and praise you, O God my Savior. I do give praise to your name. For you are my defender and helper, and has preserved my body from destruction, and from the snare of the slanderous tongue, and from the lips that forge lies, and has been my helper against my adversaries, and have delivered me, according to the multitude of your mercies and greatness of your name, from the teeth of them that were ready to devour me, and out of the hands of such as sought after my life, and from the manifold afflictions which I had, from the choking of fire on every side, and from the midst of the fire which I kindled not, from the depth of the belly of hell, from an unclean tongue, and from lying words, by an accusation to the king from an unrighteous tongue my soul drew near even to death, my life was near to the hell beneath. They compassed me on every side, and there was no man to help me. I looked for the succor of men, but there was none. Then thought I upon your mercy, O Lord, and upon your acts of old, how you deliver such as wait for you, and save them out of the hands of the enemies. Then lifted I up my supplications from the earth, and prayed for deliverance from death. I called upon the Lord, the Father of my Lord, that he would not leave me in the days of my trouble, and in the time of the proud, when there was no help. I will praise your name continually, and will sing praises with thanksgiving. And so my prayer was heard, for you saved me from destruction, and delivered me from the evil time. Therefore will I give thanks, and praise you, and bless thy name, O Lord. When I was yet young, or ever I went abroad, I desired wisdom openly in my prayer. I prayed for her before the temple, and will seek her out even to the end. Even from the flower till the grape was ripe has my heart delighted in her. My foot went the right way, from my youth up sought I after her. I bowed down my ear a little, and received her, and got much learning. I profited therein. Therefore will I ascribe glory to him that gives me wisdom. For I purposed to do after her, and earnestly I followed that which is good. So shall I not be confounded. My soul has wrestled with her, and in my doings I was exact. I stretched forth my hands to the heaven above, and bewailed my ignorances of her. I directed my soul to her, and I found her in pureness. I have had my heart joined with her from the beginning. Therefore shall I not be forsaken. My heart was troubled in seeking her. Therefore have I gotten a good possession. The Lord has given me a tongue for my reward, and I will praise him therewith. Draw near to me, you none unlearned, and dwell in the house of learning. Therefore are you none slow. And what say you none to these things, seeing your souls are very thirsty? I opened my mouth, and said, buy her for yourselves without money. Put your neck under the yoke, and let your soul receive instruction. She is hard at hand to find. Behold with your eyes, how that I have but little labor, and have gotten to me much rest. Get learning with a great sum of money, and get much gold by her. Let your soul rejoice in his mercy, and be not ashamed of his praise. Work your work betimes, and in his time he will give you your reward.